In the last 10 years, I've built 8 businesses that have made over $40 million online, and every single time I use the same exact system. And rather than keeping this information behind one of my paid programs, which until now it usually is, in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact 4-step system that any business must copy to generate $1 million. So what you're about to watch is literally an extended video course that I've handpicked from inside my paid coaching program. And now I'm putting it on YouTube for you for free. So let's roll into the first step, which is foundational to the success of every single entrepreneur online. I call it the PDPM cycle. Let's get to it. So many of our clients that we've worked with over the last few years, we just see the high levels of procrastination over this very topic. We don't even get out the gate. We don't get off the starting blocks because we allow some of these areas where we don't feel 100% confident. We allow them to stop us from getting the momentum that we need and actually starting to sign up some clients and make some money. And we just need to get out the gate and we need to launch. And if you are feeling like you're not moving forward at the pace that you want, and you're feeling like you are staying stuck at the offer creation section, you're most likely stuck in what I call the PDPM cycle. And here's what the PDPM cycle is, and it goes around and around and around, and many of you cannot get off this thing. First thing that happens, we get into this perfectionism with our offer creation. We refuse to launch our offer and therefore launch our business and therefore really take our marketing seriously until we feel we've got it perfect or as close to perfect as we could possibly get it. This is a typical common trait of us as entrepreneurs. It's this perfectionism. We don't want to put something out there until we feel that it's just absolutely perfect. And so what happens is we get stuck in this perfectionism, which means that we're never really going to be satisfied to be able to launch. And that leads us to doubt. We doubt what we have. We doubt if it's good enough. Then we doubt if it's good enough to put out into the marketplace. And that doubt leads us to procrastination. Because of this pressure that we're putting on ourselves for the offer to be perfect before we put it out there and be the best it can possibly be before we put it out there, that creates doubt that what we have is good enough, and it's never going to be good enough because we're aiming for near perfection. So that leads to procrastination. The doubt has us feeling low, has us feeling frustrated, has us feeling not good enough, and then imposter syndrome kicks in and we have all these mindset issues that kick in, and that leads to procrastination. Procrastination over launching, procrastination over putting ourselves out there, procrastination over, quite frankly, doing the work necessary to get our business moving. And then what we do in this cycle is we wait for the final piece, which is a new surge of motivation again. And so we get into this slump of procrastination where we know we're not doing the tasks that we need to do to get the result. And we go into this slump and we wait until we see an online motivational video or we see an ad that just gives us the excitement and inspiration again. And we get a little surge of motivation and we go, no, I do want to do this. I do want to take action. I do want to build this business. But now we're taking action again. We lean back into perfectionism. I'm taking action, but I can't put it out there until it's perfect. Oh, now I'm doubting it again. Now I procrastinate. We get stuck in this cycle. We have to move on from this. We have to break this cycle. If we don't, we're going to remain stuck. I don't know whether you've heard the illustration of a penny doubled every day and what that becomes after 30 days. Many of you will have heard of this before, and so you'll know where I'm going with this. Some of you, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this. You know, the question before this became a popular thing, the question was, would you prefer I give you $1 million today or I give you a penny doubled every day for 30 days? And if you didn't know how the math worked out, you might just default to say, I'll take $1 million on day one. But the compounding effect of what happens over 30 days is actually quite sensational. But the issue here is that to get to the big compounding results that actually make a difference, we have to get to the end game, which is day 28, 29, day 30. Because if we look at a penny doubled just for the first 10 days, after 10 days it becomes about $5, okay? still feels pretty flat, still feels quite uninspired, still feels a little bit boring, right? This is often where we're getting to with our business, momentum and trying to get the wheels turning. Okay, we start to take a bit of action and then these things creep in. Perfectionism, doubt, procrastination, and that removes us from taking action. And what we end up doing is rather than moving into day 11, day 12, day 13, we actually have a hard reset. We take a week or two off, we feel deflated, we feel frustrated, we take some time off. And then we have to relearn some of the stuff that we were implementing. We start to doubt even further whether the marketing we were trying to implement was actually the right way to go, or whether the offer we have was really good. And we just keep bouncing between day 1 and day 10, day 1 and day 10, never actually progressing to the next phase. I'd like you to think about these phases as blue here, day 1 to day 10. This is getting your offer just out there into the marketplace. And then I want you to think of red as now we've got it out there into the marketplace, we're building the marketing to sell that offer, and we're starting to see how receptive the market is being to our offer. And I want you to think about the green zone, day 21 to day 30. Now that we've launched our offer, now that we've got our marketing out there, now the green zone is where we really see the fruits of our labor. Many of you are never even touching the green, barely touching the red. We don't even really get out of the blue, and this is who this module is for. If we can, and I'm going to try to help you here in the next few videos, if we can get out of the starting blocks here and into day 11, look at how fast things start to compound. $5 on day 11 becomes $10 on day 10 becomes $10 on day 11. By day 20, we're at $5,000. It's noticeable now. The momentum is building, the compounding effect of the investment in this case, and in this illustration here, the investment of your time into the business, we're starting to look quite substantial now, it's starting to look quite exciting. And now let's look at the green zone. Look at this. By day 30, we're at over $5 million. A penny doubled every day for 30 days becomes $5 million. It's absolutely crazy. I want you to remember this. Every time you feel yourself taking a back step, every time you feel yourself losing motivation, every time you feel yourself hitting a wall of procrastination, every time you feel yourself doubting and attempting to implement perfectionism, I want you to identify those moments and remember this image right now and realize that all that's doing is keeping you in the blue, and you're never progressing to the red and you're never progressing to the green, okay? I want to encourage you real quick. We don't need your offer to tick every box before we launch. We do not need it to. In fact, I'd go as far to say, and I really hope you're taking some notes on this, I'd go as far to say, you don't even know what boxes to tick right now. If you're creating your offer and you're trying to make it near perfect before you launch, you don't even know what perfect looks like. It's a very subjective term, because the clients that you're trying to attract and the people that you're trying to help and the impact you're trying to have, how do you know what a perfect offer is for them? How do you know what it is exactly that they need from you that's going to help them get the result? Because that's ultimately what they want. All you're doing currently is guesswork. You're doing guesswork. You're trying to guess what it is that your offer needs to look like to get someone the result, and you'll never actually know until we get out there and get some real world input. And we can only get real world input if we launch with something that's not perfect, we take imperfect action, but now we're getting feedback from real people, real clients, okay? The reality is your offer, from what it is right now to where it's going to be in 12 months, will look very different. It's going to look completely different. And you have a big decision to make. The decision is, do you want to go the next 12 months with an offer that looks different in 12 months because you just keep tweaking it and changing it and doubting your idea, and so you add another thing to the deliverables. So in 12 months it looks different, but it's made you no money and it has no real world input?
Or do you want to be making money as you refine the offer? That's the decision that you need to make. Because if we decide to, as the theme of this video has been, just launch, knowing it's not perfect, we can launch it very quickly. From the moment you're watching these videos, you could be talking to my team over the next few days. We can help you refine the offer just enough to get it out there, and we could launch it in the next few days. Will it be perfect? No. Is it the best it's ever going to be? No. But have we launched? Yes. And now we can start to generate some clients. We can test the marketing. We can see what's working, and we can refine your offer as you go. And the same is true. Your offer is going to look very different in 12 months' time, but it's looking different now because you've got input from real clients and you've made a bunch of money on the way, all right? I hope that you choose the second option because it's the better one, okay? So a couple of quick examples for you, just to help you understand that this isn't something that I'm teaching you that I haven't lived through myself. I've done this. I've done this, and when I say I've done this, I've done what you're doing right now, and I've done what I'm now preaching that you should be doing instead. I have been in your position where I have procrastinated and I've doubted and I've hit a wall of perfectionism many, many, many times over. And the first time I attempted to launch an online course, it was called Tube Traffic Mastery. And we are going back now, I mean, gosh, almost 10 years, and we're going way earlier than when high ticket was a big, exciting thing. And I was going to sell this thing for $500. And I cannot tell you how long I procrastinated over launching this thing. It was an online course at the time. It wasn't a coaching program. And so I was trying to create a series of training videos. And I am not exaggerating when I say I spent 2 years trying to build this course. What are the modules going to be? What are the lessons going to be? What exactly am I teaching? How exactly am I teaching it? Let's do some more market research. Now I'm doubting my idea. Let me go ahead and change some of these videos. Let me re-record the whole thing. Let me change the name of the offer because that seems to be important. Let me do this. Let me do a new logo. And for 2 years, I was in this vicious cycle of just building something that I kept refining, not even knowing why I'm refining it. I just thought it would be better. I was making assumptions. And it wasn't until I eventually put it out there and put a price tag of $500 on it, and I was really, really nervous about it. I didn't think I was going to be able to sell any. I didn't have any success stories at the time. I don't know whether you're watching this and one of the reasons why you're doubting is because you don't feel you have any testimonials or previous clients that have gotten results with your material, and so therefore, is there even any proof that it's going to work? I was there. I launched this thing and I hadn't helped anyone at the time, right? I hadn't helped anybody. All I had was my own results. And I finally managed to break through that cycle, right, of PDPM, okay? And I managed to launch this thing, $500, and I started to make some sales. And the moment that I felt like a real dummy is as soon as I started to get some customers, that's when I started to get real feedback. And the more customers I generated, the more I got some feedback from people saying, hey, look, the program's great. Could you teach me more about this? Or module 2 didn't really cover this, and I wondered whether you could add that in. And I'm not quite understanding the purpose of what you taught in module 3. I need to understand that a bit more. And the more questions and feedback I was getting from my students, the more I was able to actually refine the product based on what my customers needed, not just what I thought they needed. And I realized in that moment, I wasted 2 years making no money and stuck in PDPM where I could have been making some money as I went along. Now, of course, that was just an online course. I've also done this with my coaching program. The first coaching I ever launched was called Platinum Group. And this now is, we're talking many years later, and for a series of a few years, all I was doing was selling low ticket training products like Tube Traffic Mastery. And everyone was talking about high ticket this and high ticket that. And I thought, I need to jump on this high ticket coaching side of things. There are loads of issues with just selling an online course, far too many for us to get into in this video right now. And I wanted to get into the high ticket coaching space. And I went through all of these same things again. I wanted to launch a coaching, but I was doubting whether I was good enough. I was doubting my price point. I wasn't sure if I had the right things included. It's an expensive coaching program now. Do I give more than just some videos? Do I give videos at all? Do I include some one-to-one sessions? If so, how many? Do I make the program a certain length of time? 12 months, 6 months, 3 months? Like, I just had all of these questions, and it kept me stuck for months and months and months and months and months, until eventually all that led me to was a moment where I had to just go, shoot, I just need to launch this thing. I remembered what happened the first time I launched Tube Traffic Mastery. And I remembered the moment that I got to where I just said, let's just launch. Let's just launch. And I did. And I put Platinum Group out there. Was it perfect? No. Was it the best it was ever going to be? No. Was it the end result? Absolutely not. But did I have something ready to go? Yes. It was a bit of a shambles, but I put it out there, and I then generated some sales because I'm very good at marketing. And as you're going to learn as we go through these lessons, it's marketing that sells the product, not the product itself. So even if your product's not amazing, if you've got amazing marketing, you can still sell it. And so my product wasn't great, but my marketing was. And so I started to bring in some clients, and I cared for my clients. So my product wasn't amazing, but my level of passion and excitement for my clients was, and that led me to go above and beyond and provide more of what they needed and answer their questions and add more stuff to the program based on what they needed. And the feeling from my clients was that they are just being showered with value because they're getting so much more than they felt they paid for. So that happened with Platinum Group. And back at the time, that was, I think, $18,000 or somewhere around there. We had some payment plans as well. So I know what you're going through. I've done it. And the answer is to just get to a point where you go, forget this, I'm just going to launch. And what I'm hoping that happens off the back of this video is that you make that decision today. You don't wait a few more months. You just literally write it down in your notes. You make the decision, just launch, and then refine as you go. This has happened with our clients as well. Michaela Weaver, she teaches women who are struggling with alcoholism, and she teaches them to get free from that and live life to the fullest. And when she first came in, exactly the same story. Just like you, a client with us, didn't know what her offer was going to be, felt really nervous about price points and structure, and she decided to just launch. She put an offer out there. It was just enough to start selling, and then she refined as she went along, and now she's got an amazing program that's triple the price. Doesn't look anything like it did when she first launched, all right, but she's made some great money along the way. In fact, she's done over $38,000 in a single month. Same as Phil Harris. Phil Harris had never launched a high-ticket coaching program before, and we gave him some pointers on some one-to-one sessions and got him to a point where he just felt confident enough to put it out there, and he started making $12,000 a week at the time, and this was more than he'd ever made before, and it's because he just launched. And then we refined as we went along. Same with Lisa Hugo. She used to do one-to-one vocal coaching. She used to charge by the hour. And she wanted to have a high-ticket coaching package, but she was beating herself up with all that she thought needed to be in it, and creating modules and lessons and this and that, and just building a big product that she didn't even know if the market wanted yet. And eventually she said, scrap all of that. Let me just launch with something and let me build upon it. And if you're having questions right now saying, well, John, what do you mean by just launch with something? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We've got more lessons coming up in this module where we're going to start to unpick this. This is quite simply the introduction to this module, okay? And then Lisa, started making $15,000 in just a couple of days, in 48 hours. Minu's a business coach. And again, same story, right? Just launched, got it out there, and he made $70,000 with his new webinar, and then he ran it again after refining his offer, $130,000 the next time. Okay, there are 5 things that I think are holding you back, and I want to just address them very quickly as a way of introduction into the next few lessons. Number 1, you're wondering, am I good enough, or am I positioned well enough in the marketplace? You might be thinking, is my offer good enough? Right? Can I actually be selling it? Is it good enough as it is? Number 3, will my clients succeed? Maybe you're wondering, if what you have is actually good enough to the point where you're wondering if your clients will even get the result. And if you're nervous about that, then it's coming from a good place. You don't want to sell something that you're not sure that people will get results with, and so you hold back from launching. Am I targeting the right type of avatar? Will people pay my fee, or do I need to reduce it? Do I need to be cheaper? My question to you, and I want you to take this as food for thought, are you ever going to be 100% clear on all of this stuff? The answer is no. So if you know for a fact that you're never going to be 100% clear on this stuff, then why are you waiting? What are we waiting for? All we're doing is procrastinating on the decision to launch because we still have these questions. But if you've determined that you won't really ever have the answer to these questions 100% until we put ourselves out there and start to listen to the market, then all you're doing is delaying your launch. So let's put ourselves out there, let the market tell us what they want, all right? So let's just talk about a couple of these very quickly. Number 5, will people pay my fee? The answer is yes, and in fact they'll probably pay far more than you're even willing to charge for your services right now. Many of you are probably undercharging yourself, and we're going to talk about price point here in the future lessons, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to expand your mind to think bigger as we go through this. Am I targeting the right type of avatar? Okay, well this will change and pivot, and you'll refine this over time as well. So are you targeting the right type of avatar? Well, the answer is, I don't know. Do you know? No, probably not. So we can only make our best guess right now and try to go in a direction. And when we launch and get real world feedback, then we can start to pivot, make some good decisions. Will my clients succeed? All that we're doing is speculating right now. We won't know. And we'll never know until you put something out there and then go through the process with some clients and see if they succeed or not. And if they do, double thumbs up. If they don't, let's find out why they didn't and improve the product. Okay, is my offer good enough? Am I good enough? Am I positioned well enough? We won't know until we put some marketing out there and see what the market is saying. I want you to understand something, and this is so important. All of these questions will be answered by the marketing, not the offer. All of these questions will be answered by your marketing, not the offer. Before you launch any marketing, your offer and all that you're doing with it is just hypothetical. It's what you think will work. And it's not until you wrap it up in some marketing, see if you can generate some clients, that we start to see some of these answers coming forward. Am I targeting the right avatar? Well, what avatar are you speaking to in your marketing? Is your marketing resonating with them? Are they coming forward? Right? These questions will be answered with the marketing. One more thing I want to touch on here before we move on from this introductory lesson is a very important suggestion, okay? You must start with just one offer, okay? I highly suggest this. When you're first starting out, you don't want to have multiple offers where you're trying to sell something low ticket, high ticket, top tier, all of this stuff at the exact same time. There are 4 different pricing tiers when you're selling something online. You've got low, you got mid, you got high, and then as I like to call it, you got top tier. You got these 4 different pricing tiers. The place to start when you are trying to launch your business, okay, is here, high ticket. That should be the place that you start. You shouldn't be having 5 different offers, all charging slightly different amounts, with the view that the more you have on offer, the greater chance you have something that's a good fit for everybody, okay? It's actually going to be the opposite that happens. You're never going to get all of these launched because it's too much work, it's too much admin, it's too much chaos, quite frankly. And even if you did, now you are giving your market too many options. So now they can't even make a decision because there's too many options. If somebody even can make a decision, they're going to default to the cheaper option and they're going to go to your low ticket stuff. And furthermore, you don't have any accountability to try to sell the main thing that's actually going to get them the result. And you're going to keep defaulting to the low ticket thing, because as soon as someone says to you on the phone, I don't think I can afford your high ticket thing, you too quickly move down to offer them your low ticket thing. Whereas if you didn't have a low ticket offer available and you only had your high ticket available, then now it's a yes or a no. And if it's a yes or a no, you are probably going to help that person to make a decision which is yes to this, and you're going to make far more revenue in the long run, and you're going to have much better clients, quite frankly, than if you defaulted to a low ticket much quicker. Okay, so you really need one offer to get this thing moving, and you should not be offering loads of different things at the same time. It's going to be a massive distraction. And in fact, you should only really focus on your one main high ticket coaching offer or service-based offer, or whatever it is that you have. You've got your one main offer that's a premium price. You should be really focusing on that until you're at a very comfortable $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 per month. There's no exact number, but you need to be in a place where you're getting momentum with this and you're signing up a consistent number of these clients. One funnel to sell one offer with one phone script that only goes in one direction. Leading the prospect on the phone to buy that thing, if it's a good fit. It keeps your business simple, it keeps it streamlined. As soon as you have too much other stuff, you're branching out, it's getting messy, there's too much to manage, and you go back into the cycle of just doubt and procrastination. Yeah? So, once you get to 10, 20, 30K per month, that's when you can start to branch out and maybe add a second offering. And that part's up to you as to which direction you go. You can actually either go that way, or you can go this way. And now you can do this again based on real world knowledge now. What are your clients saying? What's happening on these phone calls? Is it more often that somebody wants something more, right? They don't just want your main coaching package, but they want to get even closer to you, get more one-to-one access, or whatever the case may be. All right, well then maybe you should move up now and add a second offer that's far more expensive, but they get a lot closer to you. Or maybe you're finding in your industry, you're just getting a lot of people that can't afford your main offer. And as much as you're trying, and as much as you're trying to follow our sales training, you just can't get people to make that decision. Maybe you need something slightly cheaper as your backup offer. You're still going to focus on this. I want to make that really clear. If your phone process isn't working and you're not signing people up, you don't now add this in as a plaster on top of the wound. No, we're going to solve this. We're going to get the wound healed. We're going to figure out what's going wrong on your phone script. We're going to figure out what's going wrong on your targeting and your avatar to get the right people in. You will be able to sell this. But if once you get some momentum, you're thinking, okay, I feel like the time's right to have a second offering. Now the decision is, would it be a better fit to have a downsell, or would it be a better fit to have an upsell? All right, so welcome back to this next lesson. And this one is called the offer quadrant, okay? When you are putting your offer together, we often think about the offer that we have is quite simply what the prospect or the now client receives in exchange for the money they give you. And so we're just thinking, okay, do I need to have a membership area? And do I put some videos in there? Am I just offering one-to-one? Am I doing a combination of coaching and also some training modules? And we often just put the offer creation process in a bit of a box, just like that. Whereas actually there's 4 other things that we need to be thinking about to make a really good decision on how we essentially position this offer, okay? And I want to share with you what those 4 things are, and then we're going to go into detail on each of those 4 things. Okay, so the first one, delivery. Delivery is what I just described to you. What are you actually delivering to the prospect? What are they actually getting from you? What are they getting in return for their money? We don't even start here. It's a part of the process, but we don't even start here, okay? Get to more of that in just a second. Then there's price. All right, how much are we going to be pricing our program at? What's the investment going to be? The way that we position our offer is very, very important relative to the price. It plays a bigger part in this whole picture than you may have previously realized, and so we're going to spend some time on that. Next is the who. Who is this offer even for? Who are we speaking to? Like, we need to understand a bit more about who it is before we can start to decide who we're delivering to and maybe tailoring the delivery experience. And then we've got the result. What is the result that that person actually wants? Okay, and we do work through this process in a bit of an order. We do start with price, okay? We start with price, and I'll explain more about why we do as we move forward in these lessons, but we start with the price. What are we charging? How are we positioning ourselves in the marketplace? Are we going the cheapest? Are we going somewhere in the middle? Or are we going as a premium solution competing with the other bigwigs in our space? You know, it's a very important decision that needs to be made, and we actually make that first before anything else. Then we move to the who, all right? Who is it that we're wanting to speak to, and how are we going to get the attention of the right type of people that are going to be able to pay a premium price? So we'll talk more about that as we go. Then we move to the result. The people that I'm targeting, the who, what is it that they ultimately want? What's the result that they're trying to get? And how can we start to think about our offer in such a way that we structure it with the path of least resistance in mind? How can we just get the prospect to the result the quickest possible? And that leads us to the final step, which is delivery. It's the final piece. It's not the first piece, it's the final piece. We decide on price because price is not dependent on what we're giving them in return, which I'll unpack a little bit more as we go through this training module. So we decide on price first, right? Then we decide who is it we're wanting as a client. Then we decide what is the result that we're trying to get them and how can we get it them the quickest, path of least resistance. Then we decide what our delivery is going to be to make sure we get the client the result, okay? Now, I've already said this in the previous lesson, but I want to say it again. This is so important you understand. It's the marketing that makes the sale, not the offer. You need to understand this, and it's so critically important that you understand this, and allow me to explain why. If you get this wrong, and you think that it's an offer that sells itself, if you just have the best product, you know, people talk about this in the business and entrepreneurial world, just focus on making the best product ever. And if you just make the best product and you make sure that it's better than all of your competitors, you will never have a problem signing up clients. That's a bunch of crap, okay? That's a bunch of crap. If you have a great product, but you are no good at marketing to even sign up your first ever client, then there's nobody to experience the offer to even know that it's the best in the industry. And if nobody experiences it as the best in the industry, then there is no word of mouth that can even spread, right? So having a great product is not more important than having great marketing. Because if you don't have great marketing, no one's even going to experience the product. Now, the same can be true the other way, which can be quite damaging to our industries. And so you need to make sure that you have a great offer and great marketing, because some people online abuse this knowledge. Some people online will have a crappy product, a terrible product, a product that is not valuable in any way, shape or form, but they've just gotten so good at marketing that they can sell that offer to anyone with a credit card and a pulse. We've probably all fallen victim to some of these. I know I have, and I'm sure you have as well. We get caught up in someone's marketing, it sounds good, the branding's good, everything just feels great, and so we make a buying decision and we purchase a product, or we purchase a program, or we purchase a service because it sounded really good. We part with our money. At this point in time, do I know what I'm actually getting? Do I know the material? Am I feeling the product that no. All I've made a decision on and actually put my money on is the marketing. And then once I'm in, I experience the product and realize that it's a bunch of crap, right? And I'm sure you have as well. So we do need to make sure that our offer's good, and we'll make it better as we go, but you must understand that it's the marketing that makes the sale, not the offer. Why am I drilling this home? Why do I see this as being so important? It's because it doesn't matter how much work you put into the offer. We actually need to get to the marketing fast. We need to get to that step. If we never get to that step, then we never even have the chance at getting some clients. And it's not until we have some clients that we can actually work on the offer and make it better and better and better. So we can't spend years refining an offer that no one ever sees. It's the marketing that sells it. All right, so we're going to dive into these 4 things, the offer quadrant now, in the next few lessons. And as I go through this, I want you to realize that what I'm not saying is that we need to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks refining these 4 things again until we feel they're perfect. Absolutely not. That's going to get us stuck in the PDPM cycle again. We're going to hit perfectionism, we're going to hit doubt, we're going to hit procrastination, and we're going to wait for a surge of motivation to go again and get stuck in the same cycle. That's not what we're going to do. Okay? Think about it like this, and I actually want you to write this down. I want you to write this down. Imagine the best your offer could ever be, the best it could ever be, is a 10 out of 10. That is with refinement galore. That is with divine revelation. That is with insight from your most valued clients in years to come. And now you've tweaked it, refined it, and it is a glowing ball of awesomeness. Okay, that's a 10 out of 10. We are not going to launch something that's a 1 or a 2, but we do just want to get something that's a 5, 6, or a 7. Yeah? If we can get something where we look at these 4 things, and we look at this over the next few lessons, and you chat with my team and we help you refine it a little bit, we're not trying to get to the end result. We're just trying to get it to a 5, 6, or 7. Something that's good enough to just say, hey, I'm going to just launch. I'm going to put it out into the marketplace. I know that it's not a 10 out of 10 yet. And you've got to be okay with that. You've got to be okay with that. You're not putting out a 10 or a 10 out of 10. Because quite frankly, you will never put out a 10 out of 10. It's impossible to do. You don't even know what a 10 out of 10 looks like. So it's impossible to do. So you have to just get okay with the fact that that's not what you're doing. You're putting out a 5, 6, or a 7 so that you can keep refining it to get it closer to a 10 out of 10. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this, but not too long. And I only want you to spend a week max thinking about these 4 things, taking some notes about it, submitting that as homework to my team, and let's just launch. All right? So with that context set, that's the end of the offer quadrant introduction. Now I'll meet you in the next lesson. All right, so welcome back to the next lesson. And so in this one, we're going to take off with the offer quadrant, and we're going to focus on the first part of this, which, as I mentioned in the previous lesson, is price. We need to focus on price as we get going with this. And I would like to remind you something that I said in the first video, okay? For many of you, you've come into our coaching program and you already feel confident in what you're selling, how much you're selling it for, and that's great. You do not need to be watching these lessons. And if you are watching these lessons, the last thing that I want is for this to be a distraction, right? You thought you were clear on your price, you thought you were clear on your offer, and now I'm actually throwing a spanner into the works, and that would be counterproductive, all right? That's not what we want. So what I'm saying in this video, take it with a pinch of salt. You might have already decided on your price, and now I'm actually just confusing you further. So as long as you're charging a high ticket price, you're feeling good about it, then you may just choose to move straight on from this lesson. I just wanted to say that before we begin, all right? So, 2 things that we often get mixed up here, okay? And that is pricing your offer and planning the delivery of your offer. You know, being how much are you actually going to charge for someone to go through this coaching experience with you, or how much are you going to charge for someone to use your service, And what are you going to be giving them in return for that investment? And it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. Do we put a price on the offer, irrespective of what we're delivering? And we say, this is our price, and it doesn't matter if they get 3 modules of training or 5 modules, or if they get 10 one-to-one sessions or 5, or if the program's 6 months or 12 months. Irrespective of all of those decisions, doesn't matter, this is my price, I'm not changing it. Or the other way around. We say, I'm going to build the offer first, they're going to get this, they're going to get this, they're going to get this, they're going to get this. Now I look at my offer and say, what do I think it's worth? And now I attach a price to it. Well, the answer is actually quite clear to me, and I want to share it with you. We start by pricing your offer. We price the offer first, and we do not change it depending on how the deliverables change, okay? And the way that I want you to think about this is because people aren't paying for stuff, they are paying for the result. Think about this. When you sign up for a coaching program, my coaching program included here at Add Clients, you're not paying for stuff. If you get an extra module of training that I spent hours and hours preparing with nice fancy slides and I recorded it for you and I put it into a nice membership area, you don't care about having an extra module of training. In fact, you might actually see that as a hindrance. You might actually see that as an annoyance. You don't want more stuff, you want the result. And if I can get you the result, the path of least resistance, that's what you're actually paying for. So if you are charging $5,000 for your coaching, and you, as a result of a very small amount of deliverables, you get the client the result, they got what they paid for. They got the value in $5,000. Just as if it would take a bit more to get them the result, and you did add more training and you added more stuff that they get, as long as we get them the result, then it's worth the $5,000. So you have to pick a price irrespective of what you're giving them, because the amount of stuff doesn't quantify the value. It's whether the stuff you're giving them actually gets the result. And this is very freeing for us because it allows us to refine our offer over time, but never change the price. I'm going to say that again. It gives us the freedom to refine our offer over time, but never change the price. I actually want you to write this down. What I've just said is so profound. I'm going to say it one more time and I want you to write this down. It gives us the freedom to refine our offer over time and never change the price. And I'm going to add an additional caveat to that, which is that if we do change the price, it's going up, not down. Even if our deliverables go down. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you launch your coaching program and it starts including 10 one-to-one sessions. And those 10 one-to-one sessions are an hour apiece. So currently inside of your program, you're giving 10 hours of your time and maybe some other stuff as well. And you charge $5,000. If we think that the value is in the stuff, then if we decided that 10 one-to-ones was too much work for us and we were burning out and we were hitting a ceiling, if we reduced it to 5 one-to-ones, you might be tempted to reduce your price. And that's what I'm telling you today you should never do, okay? The question you should be asking yourself is, can I reduce the deliverables from 10 one-to-ones to 5 one-to-ones and maintain the client getting the result? If the answer to that question is yes, then it does not matter that you're giving half the amount of your time. The client's still getting the result, therefore it's still worth $5,000, okay? I really hope what I just said makes sense. If it hasn't, go back and re-listen to the last 2 minutes of what I just said. It's actually quite profound. So let's keep moving on. I want to introduce you to something called the offer triangle. And there's 3 things that your offer needs to satisfy to be a great offer that you can be proud of, that you can deliver to the marketplace. And the first is client results. You must maintain your clients being a priority in your business. When they invest in you and invest in your program, they're taking a big step. And we want to pour everything we can into them, go above and beyond, and make sure that they're getting the result. The second thing, though, that goes alongside this is lifestyle. Your personal lifestyle. We need to make sure that, yes, we're focusing on client results, but we're not doing it at the extent of our mental or physical well-being. If we are working late into the night, every night, and we're not seeing our family because we're working so hard on the business, we're not getting the sleep that we want, we can't go on holiday and just put our phone down, right? If our lifestyle is suffering, then that's not going to be the answer. We need to satisfy a good, healthy lifestyle for ourselves. And thirdly, scalability. We need a business that is scalable, something that we can continue to grow and not hit a ceiling, or at least not hit a ceiling as quickly as we might have done had we set this up slightly differently, okay? A way to think of this is the offer triangle. The client results is the thing that they want. It's what your clients want. They want to come in and get the result, right? The lifestyle is what you want. You want to have a business that you're proud of, that makes you great money, but also satisfies your lifestyle. And scalability is what's allowing it all to happen. You can have a business that can attract more clients, that get great results, and you have a great lifestyle because you've built it in such a way that it's scalable. Now, the topic of the lesson right now is pricing, correct? So the answer to the offer triangle is to be charging high ticket. Now, I'm most likely preaching to the choir right now. If you're here inside our program, it's because you already charge high ticket, okay? So then this really is just a refresher for you as to why high ticket is the route to go down. You wouldn't be here if you didn't already believe this, but you might be lacking a bit of confidence. So let's talk about this. If we charge high ticket, we naturally start to attract a better quality of client. All right? I don't mean to degrade anyone. I don't mean to talk down on certain categories of people that don't, pay as much as others, or maybe can't afford as much. But the facts remain the same. People that will part with larger amounts of money to provide a solution to a problem they've got, they are just better clients. They work harder. They follow your instructions. They're usually nicer people, quite frankly. When I've sold cheaper stuff in the past, when I've sold $100 or $200 online courses, I can't tell you how many people are just moaning and grumbling and blaming me for not getting the result, whereas they're just not implementing. It's just a difficult group of people. Whereas as soon as you start to charge high ticket, it changes the caliber of person. There's something about someone willing to part with that level of cash that person is, again, I hate how this sounds, because there are some unique scenarios where maybe just someone does not have access to money. So I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about someone who does have access to money but is unwilling to invest versus someone who is willing to invest. This person's just more intelligent. It's the way it seems to be. And with that intelligence comes elegance. And with that elegance comes a nice person that you actually enjoy talking to and hanging out with. And they will naturally get a greater result because they'll do the work. They've invested at a higher level. Therefore, they're more invested in the process because they want to get a good return on that money. So they actually do the work. And if they do the work, as long as you're providing a good service, they'll get the result. Or there's a very high chance they'll get the result. And if they get the result, great. You've got more success stories to allow the whole thing to turn. You have a greater lifestyle. All right? If you are charging high ticket, then you need fewer clients to get a great result, or a great income, I should say. If you are charging $5,000 and you can generate 4 clients, that's $20,000 a month if you can get just 4 clients a month. So the management on that is very small. Not very many clients means less moving parts, means less conversations, less people that are asking things of you. And because they are a higher caliber of person, typically, they're often very respectful. So if you go away on a holiday for a week, they're often not moaning and grumbling about that. They're quite happy because they understand, just as you, that we need a break sometimes. So your lifestyle is satisfied. And finally, it's scalable. Okay? If we've got a high ticket offer and we're making $20,000 a month and we want to double the business, well, we don't need that many more clients to do so. If we have a low ticket $20 offer and we want to double our business, then we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other programs to sell, right? Whereas with a high ticket offer, we're talking about we can count on one hand how many more clients we need to double the business. So we can scale without hitting a ceiling, all right? So a couple of things here that we need to talk about. Number one, when we are on the topic of charging a high ticket, the first thing that you need to do doesn't take a big calculation, doesn't take doing loads of market research. You just need to decide, what are you worth? What do you ideally want to be charging? If you could take the training wheels off and you felt really confident and you had some momentum, what would you ideally want to be charging? And it's very important that you write that number down. Not the number that you think you can be charging right now, not the number that's lacking, that's within your comfort zone. But what's the big number that you look out into the future and you say, you know what, if I had the training wheels off and if I had momentum, I feel like I'm worth that. I really do. I need confidence built, but I feel like you need to write that number down. It might not be the number that we absolutely start with, but we need to have it there as a marker for at least where we're going to try to get your price point. We'll actually talk more about that a little bit later on. If you have no clue what you should be charging, then have a look at your market. Have a look at your industry. Look around, shop around. Maybe get on a couple of sales calls yourself with your competitors. Find out what their offers are. Find out how much they are, and you must position your price with the bigwigs. All right? You must position your price with the bigwigs. If you go cheap, it's going to be a race to the bottom every time, and you do not look valuable. If you go somewhere in the middle, trying to hit a comfort zone, well, if I go in the middle of the market, then I'm not the cheapest, I'm not the most expensive. Yeah, but you know what you are? Forgettable. You're forgettable. You're in the middle. You blend in. So we need to stand out. We don't want to stand out by being the cheapest. There's only one other option. We stand out by being positioned as a premium solution. We want to be at the top of the market. How much someone is willing to pay is in direct alignment with how desperate they are for a solution, or how much money they have access to. A big question that I have gotten over the years when we get to this point in a training like this, the question goes, John, I understand now, high ticket, that's the way to go, I'm feeling better about it. But how do we even find high ticket people? How do I even get in front of those types of people? I've tried before, I just don't think I'm worth it. I don't think my market spends that kind of money. You're not thinking about this correctly. How much someone is willing to pay is in direct alignment with how desperate they are for a solution and or how much money they have access to. So let's look at something here. This is time over increased desire for a solution, okay? The more time that passes, naturally, the more a desire is increased for a solution. So if you have only just discovered that you have a problem, yeah? You've only just discovered that you have a problem. First thing you do is not go on the hunt for a $5,000 coaching program and make a serious investment in yourself. Of course it's not. You've only just discovered the problem. You're most likely going to go to YouTube or Google and make some searches and see what kind of free information you can rustle up. Then 6 months goes by, 8 months, 9 months. That problem is still niggling in the back of your head. You think, oh, I really want to figure this out. So you spend more time. You don't invest your money yet, but you spend more time. Let's liken this to weight loss, yeah? You decide that New Year's resolution one year, I need to lose that weight. First thing, You've just decided that this is a thing. Okay, well, I'm not going to invest much money yet. I don't need to. I'm motivated. So I'm just going to watch some YouTube videos, get some inspiration, figure out some workout plans, and away I go. And then 6 months goes by and you're still where you were. And you get that motivation again and you go, no, I'm really going to figure this out right. Let me go back to Google. Let me go to ChatGPT. Let me have it make me a workout plan for the next 6 weeks, and you still didn't hit it. And eventually a year goes by and you go, you know what, I need a personal trainer. And you go to your local gym and you invest £40 or $40 an hour in a personal trainer, and you have a few sessions with them, and then again you lose discipline and you end up cancelling some of your sessions because you're busy, and then you forget to rebook and you've lost momentum. And then eventually another year goes by and you go, you know what, I really want to get in shape. I'm getting bigger, I'm losing my energy, I'm sleeping badly, I've got to figure this out. Personal training didn't work for me last time. Let me see what other options there are. And the more time that passes, the more desperate you become for a solution, until eventually you come across a chap or a woman who's saying, I'm going to work with you one-on-one, not just for a one-off PT session. No, forget that. I'm going to be your personal instructor here, in and outside the gym. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold you accountable. And I'm going to prepare your meal plans. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. But it's $2,000. And you go, do you know what? I've proven to myself that all this other stuff isn't working. I need to try something different. I'm going to invest the big bucks. Those are the people that we're after. We're after people that are at the end of this curve. Because all the while, people are dropping off. They look for a solution for 12 months. They invest $100 into an online course. They don't get the result. They grumble and moan, and then they don't go any further. They lose inspiration. They lose discipline. They lose motivation. They don't go any further. But some people do. And so the people that do continue to press in, they become more desperate. And by being more desperate, they are more willing to invest. Okay? Now you might be saying, well, John, that's all well and good, but my industry just do not invest high ticket. I guarantee you they do. You've got to understand that we're not looking at the average of a market. We're looking for the very top, the premium level clients at the very top of this. Yeah? So sometimes we can lose confidence in the price that we're charging because the feedback coming back to us is, oh, that's expensive. And then you check with your friends and family the idea you're thinking of launching, and they go, you're going to charge $3,000? Are you crazy? There are people that charge $50. There are people that charge $100. There are people that charge $1,000 for something very similar. You really think you can sell that for $3,000? And all these negative voices come in, and you start to believe it. You start to go, yeah, you're right. My industry just won't be willing to, they won't be willing to pay this. I can't charge this. I've got to go cheaper. That's because you're looking at the wrong data points. You're looking at your industry as a whole. You're listening to the noises from your friends and family. You're not thinking about the very small portion of people in your market that are, for the most part, hidden, because they're a small portion, but they're the ones we're after. And I guarantee you, those people are there in almost every market, in almost every country. Okay? That elite group, that small proportion, they are there and they're willing to pay a high ticket amount. It's worth keeping in mind that when you charge high ticket, you're also serving your audience at a higher level. Okay? You're actually serving them at a higher level because there's an element of accountability that you're giving your clients just by the nature of how much you charge. By charging $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, or maybe for some of you just getting started and $2,000 is a big move for you. By charging those prices, you are naturally giving someone accountability because they feel what I call the pinch of the investment. If they feel the pinch of the investment, if it weighs heavy on them, then they're far more likely to follow the plan and execute and get the result. So you actually end up serving them at a higher level because of that. And you've got fewer clients, so you can give more of yourself to each client and have a greater impact. If you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of low ticket customers, You can't possibly give a high level of impact to each of those people. But if for the same amount of money you've got just 4 clients, now you can give enough of your time and attention to each of them to get them the result. All right? So understand that there's a premium version of just about everything, and all we're doing is putting ourselves in that category. And keep in mind that that proportion is smaller too. You book a flight and you've got hundreds and hundreds of economy seats. Then you've got premium economy or economy plus. Ooh, starting to push out the boat. And then we've got the business class, we've got the first class, we've got the pods. All right? There's not as many of those as there are economy seats because it's a small group of people. But those are the people that we're after in your market. Same thing here. You've got thousands of people in a nightclub that have paid their $10 to get their stamp on their hand and go and be look like they're in a tin of sardines. All right, all squished together. And then you've got the people that pay for the private table and the nice bottles of champagne. There's fewer of those people, but those are the ones that the nightclub owners really want. Okay? Fast food, premium food. Okay? Ford, Bugatti. Ford create 3 to 4 million vehicles a year. Bugatti, about 100 to 200, right? They are worlds apart in terms of what they're charging, but Bugatti, of course, are a gigantic, a car company, great revenues, but they do it from 100 to 200 cars because they're going for Bugatti clients, not Ford clients. So you have to decide what type of clients you want. Okay. So before we conclude this lesson, we've still got quite a few more things to go through because I want to go into the priceometer. This is for me to give you a bit of a helping hand as to where you should price yourself. So take some notes as we go here because we've done a bit of the groundwork. You hopefully understand now why high ticket is a better route to go. You hopefully understand why it would be better for your business, why it's better for you to be able to serve clients, why it's going to satisfy the offer triangle, and you probably want Bugatti clients. But now you're going, well, John, that's all well and good, but kind of like, where should I be? What kind of numbers are we talking about here? So allow me to help you. And all I can do is give you parameters, and then you can be talking to my team and we can help you to work that to an exact amount. All right, so let's get going. If you are just getting started, okay, meaning that you are definitely lacking confidence, you don't feel that you have any success stories or testimonials, maybe you've never sold anything like this before, you're brand new, you're just getting started, then you should be somewhere in the realm of $2,000 to $3,000. That should be your price. And you might say, John, how can you tell me what my price should be before you even know what I'm selling? If you're asking that question, you didn't learn the very important lesson I taught you earlier on. What you give is irrelevant to the price. The price that we're deciding on right now is what you're worth, and we're going to make sure that your clients get the result. It's the result they're paying for. They're not paying for more stuff. They don't care if it's a course or a coaching or group coaching or they get 10 one-to-ones or 5 one-to-ones. None of that stuff right now matters, not in the slightest. What matters right now is that we pick the right type of price point for you and where you're at in your business. Okay, so we're coming back to this. You should be between $2,000 and $3,000 irrespective of what you're actually going to be delivering to them, with a view to move your price up a bit. Okay. If you already have successful students, okay, if you've been around the block, you've had other programs in the past, you've succeeded with other clients, you've sold other things, you've just been around for a while, okay, then you should be at a slightly higher confidence level, maybe somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, yeah? That's where you should be. And this is irrespective of industry. Irrespective of industry, across all industries, this is kind of your parameter, okay? And again, with a bit of a view to keep bumping this up, okay? Now, that was based on where you're at in the business. Are you kind of just getting started, or have you been around for a while? Now let's talk about parameters that we can layer on top of that, which is, are you in a non-financial result industry, which means that there is no financial gain for your client joining your program. So this would include, maybe you help people figure out their life's purpose. Maybe you're a life coach. Maybe you're a personal development coach. Maybe you're a relationship coach. Maybe you're a fitness coach. Maybe you teach people photography, right? Whatever it is, you are not in an industry where a client is signing up to you and the problem that they have and the solution that you provide is going to help them make more money, okay? If you are in a non-financial return kind of industry, then you're going to want to stay between 2 and 5. You are going to have a bit of a ceiling, right? It's going to be harder for you to push beyond the $5,000 price point if what you sell is more of a hobby or something that's not going to return a financial result. On the contrary, if what you do does return a financial result, let's talk about some examples there. I fall into this category. We are going to be teaching you as a client in this program how to grow your business, how to get more clients, and how to ultimately build your revenue and build your profit. So I do provide a financial result for my clients that succeed. Another example would be trading. You teach people how to trade and generate an income that way. Maybe you're in the career progression coaching and you help people find a job or get a promotion or whatever the case is. There's a financial return to your service. Maybe you're a business coach and you work with businesses or C-suite level executives to build systems in the business that further improve the operation of the business, which of course in turn has a revenue or a profit repercussion. Then there is a financial result there, and you're going to want to be somewhere between the 5 and the 15, quite frankly. Yeah? Now, let's layer these two together and understand that the two things that I just presented can be true at the same time, which is, what if you are in a financial result industry, but you are just getting started? John, you told me that if I have a financial result, I should be between 5 and 15, but you also said that if I'm just getting started, I should be 2 and 3. How can I reconcile those two things? Quite simply, you get started at the 2 or 3, but you have a view to get up into the bracket that you really should be in, which is between 5 and 15. Then we've got at the very top what we call a top tier offering. And in one of the previous videos, I spoke to you about the 4 different ticket levels: low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, and top tier. If you get to the point where you're ready to add another offer, a second offer into the business, then you can be adding in a top tier offering. And that can be, in almost every industry, that could be 15 to 25K. Because now we're talking about the elite of the elite. We're talking about an extremely small group of people. We could still build a massive business off of it, but they're a small group nonetheless. It's not going to be probably the main focus for our business. We're going to focus on our core offer and our high ticket offer, but maybe eventually we're going to put something very expensive at the top, and some people will prefer that, or some people might graduate up to that. That might be anywhere between 15, 25,000. The list goes on. We've got clients that have top tier offers that are $100,000 and $150,000, okay? My recommendation for you, as I've already said, start at least $2,000, at least $2,000, okay? And I want to draw attention to what I call the nervous newbie zone. The nervous newbie zone, all right? Some of you listening to this video right now might be saying, John, that sounds good. I understand everything that you're saying. I understand that we should start at least $2,000. That sounds very sensible. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start at $1,000 and then I'm going to work my way up to the $2,000 and beyond. Okay? No, what you're doing is staying within your comfort zone, and you're actually staying in what I call the nervous newbie zone. I've told you that you must be minimum $2,000, and you've said, okay, great, but I'm a bit nervous, so I'm going to go to the newbie zone. Nope. The newbie zone is $2,000 minimum that you should be charging. And I'm literally, I mean, I can't guarantee it, but if this is as close to a guarantee as I can get with maintaining being legally compliant, all right? I'm not guaranteeing this, but as close to possible. You will be able to make this model work and make the numbers work for your business if you're at least $2,000. Because we got to keep in mind, we're going to be getting traffic from social media, register them for your value funnel. And off the back of that, you'll be booking calls, and off the back of booked calls, you're going to cancel some, and then some of those people you'll speak to, there will be a lot of drop-off in that process. But there'll be some great people that you speak to. And to make it worth your while to get on the phone, it needs to be at least $2,000. If it's not at least $2,000, then it's not going to be worth your time taking that phone conversation. Hope you can appreciate that. All right? And in case you're wondering, even in industries like, you know, health, you might say, John, would someone really spend thousands and thousands on their health when, you know, there are people that will work with you by the hour and just charge $50 an hour or $100 an hour? Well, one of our clients, Cara Young, she's now graduated from our elite coaching program. She's now in our expansion coaching program. She's doing $30,000 and $40,000 per month, and her offer is $3,800, and she helps people that are struggling from autoimmune disease. We've got a guy called Phil Harris who teaches people how to create electronic dance music. It's a hobby business, but because he targets the right type of person, which we're going to get to in one of the later videos, and he charges a premium price, he's getting the right type of people that are willing to pay high ticket because they're desperate enough to learn this skill that is just a hobby. It's just learning how to create some music in your spare time. But because he's charging a high ticket price, which by the way is $6,000, he's selling it like hotcakes. All right? So make a decision right now and commit to it. What is your price going to be? I want you to write it down right now as you're watching this lesson. Seriously, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. I'll wait, or you can pause the video. All right? I want you to write it down. Of everything that I've said so far, what is that number in your head? What's the one that's just screaming at you? Maybe you feel confident about it, maybe you don't. Whatever that number is, write it down in your notes right now. Okay? And let's kind of lock it in. Let's lock it in and let's work towards that. Okay? A couple of quick bonus tips for you. Firstly, for your peace of mind, you can offer payment plans. Okay? You can offer payment plans. So whatever that number is that you're choosing right now, that doesn't need to be the all or nothing. They either join it for $6,000 or they don't, right? You can break it up. If people want to do your program and they just can't quite make it work at $6,000, we do not want to be tempted to start breaking up our offer and saying, well, I'll tell you what, if you can't afford my $6,000 coaching, why don't I just give you some of the things? And I'll do it for you for a reduced price. And you do not want to start getting into that territory. That is a messy business. What would be better is to sell the same program to everyone, but let's chop it up via payment plans to make it more affordable. Maybe we'll have a PIF, which is pay in full, but then we'll have a way to chop it down the middle for 2Pay. Maybe it'll be slightly more expensive in the long run, but we'll break it up into 3 equal payments, 30 days apart perhaps. Or maybe we'll break it up into 4 equal payments, 30 days apart. A top tip within the top tip is never, and I repeat never, you want to write this down, never have a payment plan outlive the time in the program. I'll say that again. Never have a payment plan outlive the time in the program. If your program lasts for 6 months, do not break it up into 8 installments monthly. Because now you've got people that owe you money when they have finished in the program. And as good as you might think people's intentions are, I can guarantee you not all of those people are going to make their payments. All right? You must have the payment plans be within the time in the program. All right? Another tip for you, and this is a big one for those of you who are feeling particularly nervous about launching your high ticket offer because you feel so new. You're saying, John, I get all of this, it's exciting, but I have not been in this industry for very long. I feel like there's so much competition. I don't know why someone would choose me over somebody else. I'm not confident in my price. I know that I'm worth that, but I'm not confident to charge it yet because no one really knows who I am. I don't have any success stories. I'm just feeling nervous. Then here's a top tip for you. I would suggest whatever your ideal price is, if you want to be charging $6,000, if you had all the confidence in the world, you wanted to be charging $6,000 and knew that you were worth it, halve it. Launch at $3,000. Just launch, but launch at half the price. This is going to give you so many benefits. If you launch at half the price, now you genuinely feel like what you're giving for how much you're charging is so worth it. If you know that you're worth $6,000, but your confidence is just lacking a bit, well, going in at 3 now, you are going to go onto those phone conversations and you're going to be able to more confidently sell yourself because you know for a matter of fact, you're worth it. Second reason, your clients are getting a good deal. The barrier to entry is lower, so you're more likely to sign up some clients, and in so doing, you can work with those clients, get them a great result, and build momentum from there. Thirdly, you have a unique positioning that actually is the perfect answer for why you don't have any success stories. Allow me to explain. If you're on the phone and you're making your offer, and the person on the phone is asking whether you have success stories, or you're thinking, John, I'm trying to make a sale, but I know that I don't have any success stories yet. This person who could sign up might be my very first client. How do I address that? Halving your price in the beginning addresses it perfectly. I'll teach you this again and in more detail, quite frankly, when we get to the sales training inside of our program, but I'll give you a quick heads up now, give you a bit of a tease so you can see the power in this. The way I'd position it is as follows. I'd say, hey, James, so where would you like to go from here? And James says, well, yeah, I guess, how much is the program, and, who else has been through the program? And yeah, I'd just love to know all the details. You say, awesome, great question. So here's what I'm doing. I've been sitting on this secret now for what feels like far too long. 5 years. I have been holding on to this knowledge, and it has enriched my life greatly, as we've been talking about in this phone conversation. And I've just been watching the industry as it descends into chaos, and gurus are teaching outdated stuff that just doesn't work. And I'm looking at what I've got and I'm thinking, man, I need to dive in and help this industry. So here's what I'm doing, James. I'm going to work with the next 10 people, and I'm going to devote myself to making sure that you get the result with this. I'm going to share with you everything that I've done. I'm going to share with you every step that you need to take, and I'm going to work with you until you get this result. I've got to get this result with you, and here's why. I would love to extend my impact and build my reach far more than it currently is. And so I'm going to work with these next 10 people, and I'm going to give them everything they need to get this result. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be charging $6,000 for this. That's going to be the cost to work with me in this 6-month program. Here's what I'd like to offer you today, James. And it really is just for today, because I've got a few more calls lined up this week. And once I fill the 10 spots, then I'll be increasing my price. It's going to be $6,000. What I'd like to offer you is I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to work with you for $3,000, and you're going to get everything that I've just mentioned, that we've talked about on the phone today. There is one catch though, James. Can I tell you what the catch is? James will say yes. You say, when we get you the result, I'm going to need you to be willing to shoot me a testimonial video and maybe write me a positive message and just, share with other people the result that you got working with me, so that I can, of course, share that message across the internet to help me get some more clients. Does that sound fair? And James will say yes. And you say, awesome. Then in that case, I'm happy to do it at that reduced price. I'm not really going to be making a great amount of money on that, if I'm honest. It's going to take me more time. I'm going to work with you quite intensely. but I'm willing to do it in exchange for your success story. Then you move on. Now, can you see how powerful that might be? I'm talking to you now, back to the training. See how powerful that positioning is, yeah? I have halved the price. I've justified why I'm lowering the price because I want a success story. I'm building the confidence of the prospect because they feel so convinced that I'm going to give them everything that they need to get this result, and they're getting a good deal. And now they're not bothered by the fact that no one else has succeeded with this program yet because they understand that it's new, but they're getting a significant discount because they are someone coming into a new program. So that's just kind of touching the surface here, or scraping the surface of kind of what we're going to get into in some of the sales stuff. But as a top tip there for you, halving your ideal price to build momentum is a great idea. Never work for free, okay? Never, ever, 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 ever work for free. That's terrible advice. When someone says work for experience to then build yourself up and get some success stories, that's nonsense. You can just halve your price and be making money while you build your success stories, okay? Should you offer guarantees? Now, this is one that I can't give you a guarantee. I can't give you, a set in stone answer. It really varies, and I think a big part of this comes down to testing with you and your business and your industry and see how people are engaging. What I can tell you is that in my industry, people typically use guarantees as a crutch. If I was to offer a guarantee on my coaching, I would increase people coming into the program and not doing any work. And they're not doing any work because they know they've got a guarantee to fall back on. So they themselves procrastinate for 30 days, only to then say, hey, thanks so much, but I haven't enjoyed the program. I haven't had a chance to go through it, so I'd like my money back. So when we've tested this in the past, we dramatically increase the amount of people that just sit idle in the program and then just fall back on the guarantee. And as soon as we took the guarantee away and we no longer offered it, we saw the implementation of our clients go through the roof. We saw the success rate of our clients go through the roof. We saw people coming in and there was no plan B. So they are dedicated to the process. So we personally don't like guarantees on our coaching, and we don't offer guarantees on our coaching for that very reason. If you want to know how to handle questions on sales calls when that comes up and people ask you if you have a guarantee and you need to say that we don't have one, we've got answers to that in the sales training. That's coming in the later modules. All right. But for now, just know I don't have guarantees, and that's the reason why. But you and your industry might be different. So perhaps as you build momentum, you want to test it. Test it out. On a few of your clients, offer it. On a few of your clients, don't offer it, and assess the results. And you will determine, based on how many people are requesting that money back, versus how many additional sales it helped you generate because of the confidence it exuded, and you balance that out, and then you can make a very good data-driven decision as to whether you should offer guarantees moving forward. All right, so that is the pricing your offer lesson. That was a big one. We covered a lot, but I hope that was helpful, and we're going to move into the next one now. Hey, welcome back to the next lesson, and in this one, we're going to be talking about who to target our offer for. If we go back to the offer quadrant, we talked about pricing so far, and that's the place that we really start, okay? Now we move into, well, who? Who do we want as clients? Who are we speaking to? Like, ultimately, we need to decide, or at least get a slightly clearer picture as to who we want as a client and who we want to be targeting before we can really understand what our offer is going to be doing and, and how it's going to be doing it for people, okay? So first things first. We are, of course, wanting to target people who are willing and able to invest in a high ticket. We spoke about that in the previous lesson about pricing. We want to charge a premium price. And so, of course, going hand in hand with that, we want to target people that are willing and able to invest high ticket. It's the marketing that's going to help us find those people. Right now, we're just dreaming, okay? Right now, we're not getting into all the details as to how we're going to find these people. We're just dreaming about the who. So the ideal who is, okay, well, they're willing and able to invest high ticket. Now, I'll teach you in the marketing later on how we go about finding those people. Secondly, we just need to get a little bit more specific. with who it is that we're after. And I want to throw a caveat in at this point in the beginning of the lesson. People get so hung up on this idea of client avatar, and we need to get it so perfect that we give the person a name. My avatar is Sally. She lives here. She's got 3 dogs. She studied for 4 years. Then she did this. We don't need to get that granular with a client avatar. We just need to get a little bit closer. We just need to demist this a little bit and start to be able to see a clearer picture. So by doing that, we just need to get a little bit more specific. What we need to do is carve ourselves what I call a mini market, and then be bold in only targeting those people. We carve ourselves a mini market and we're bold in only targeting those people. The idea of casting a wide net in the beginning is a really, really bad idea. And I'm going to come out of my slides for a second to demonstrate this over here on the board, all right? Because let's imagine that this circle here represents your market. All of the possible people in your market that could be a client for you, okay? And I know what you're thinking. My gosh, John, that was a near perfect circle, all right? I agree. Now let's imagine wider market, okay? And within a wider market, we have all of these things that I call mini markets, okay? And we might assume that the wider market that we're in maybe has, I don't know, let's just put a number on it and say that there's 2 million people that could be a client for us. 2 million people in this wider market. But within the wider market, there are specific pockets of people that can relate to each other for a specific reason. Let's say the 2 million here is just anyone looking to lose weight, right? That's you casting a wide net, going out to just anyone that is looking to lose weight, and you're a weight loss coach. But over here, we've got people that are working busy jobs. They're in a high pressure career and they're struggling to find time to lose weight. You've got mums over here. You've got people over 50 over here. You've got young people in their 20s over here. We've got people in different countries. We've got lots of different reasons and lots of different ways to chop this up and take the wider market into a mini market. If we chop this up into a mini market, we can speak much clearer. With greater clarity, we can get the attention of the people that we want. If we, over here, this is us, if we create a marketing message that's designed to speak to this entire market, guess what? No one's listening. No one's listening, no one cares, you don't get the attention of any of these people. But if we change that and we say, you know what, this right here, that's the mini market that I want. I'm going to double down on speaking to that group of people with that specific problem or that demographic. That's what I'm going to speak to here, and I'm going to create a marketing message that only really speaks to those people. I know that that means I'm going to be disqualifying everybody else. Everyone else around here is not going to resonate with my marketing and with my advertising because it's not relevant to them. I'm only calling out this small group of people. But by doing so, you actually do get these people's attention, and you get it in the boatloads. They're scrolling on Facebook or they're watching YouTube videos and you pop up with a very specific message that speaks just to them. Now they're engaged. Whereas if you went out with a message to everybody, you lose not only these people, but you also lose these people as well. No one's listening. So hopefully that makes sense, right? We need to get specific, and by getting specific and targeting a mini market instead of a wider market, we can actually get a greater result. So casting a wide net in the beginning, very, very bad idea. Okay. Next thing, we want to, in some way, be magnetic to the type of client that we ultimately really, really want, but we at the same time want to be repelling anyone else. You do not want to be aiming to please everybody. This is not the game of marketing. We're not trying to put out a message that's so carefully constructed that it doesn't possibly offend anybody and doesn't possibly make someone feel excluded, like I couldn't help them and so I can help everybody and I've got this really vanilla message. It's not going to work. You need to say sometimes some very clear things that are going to be magnetic to the people that you're speaking to, knowing that it's going to repel and exclude another group of people. And that's actually what's going to work. The more you speak to one group and repel another group, the more you do become magnetically attractive to the group that you're wanting. So we actually stand out by speaking to a few of these smaller groups within a wider market. People spend money with the most specific message. Okay? People spend money with the most specific message. I've given this example before and I'll give it again. You got photographer one. And photographer one takes amazing photos, right? They are jaw-dropping, but they can do everything. They can do weddings, they can do parties, they can do corporate events, they can do headshots. They do the lot. Photographer number two takes equally good photos. In fact, for the sake of this illustration, we could even say that they take slightly subpar photos. They still look amazing, but not quite as good as photographer one. But they specialize in wedding photography. They don't do anything else. It's only wedding photography. So when a prospect is on social media or otherwise, and they're looking for a wedding photographer, and they are targeted by photographer one and photographer two, and they see both of these photographers' pictures and they go, wow, they're both amazing, but we're looking for a wedding photographer. They both do wedding photography, but this person, photographer number two, they seem to specialize in it, so we're going there. And photographer two wins the business, photographer one loses out. Now let's imagine that we pin photographer one up against another photographer now, and this second photographer specializes in headshots. Somebody is on social media, a punter, a prospect, looking for someone to take some headshots. They come across both of these photographers. They both look like they've got amazing pictures, but one of them specializes in headshots. Guess who wins the business? That one. Photographer one is going to lose out every single time because the prospect is going to spend money with the more specific message. Because with specificity comes a feeling that that person is going to understand their situation better. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant because marketing sells the product, not product itself. So it's irrelevant the quality of what's being delivered. But the message that's being conveyed in the marketing is that this person understands me more because there's specificity in their marketing. Some food for thought there, very important. Same thing is true for this. Here in the UK, we've got some cold and flu sachets called Lemsip. A little bit of powder, mix it with some hot water, feel a bit better, okay? I can't remember how much it is, probably £2 for a pack of, what we've got there, 10. And I was feeling under the weather recently and I went into my local supermarket and I went to pick up some Lemsip and like a zombie, I just walked with my head down, I knew where I was going and I went to grab the Lemsip. I picked it up off the shelf, I was about to walk out and on my way out, I looked to the left and I saw this bottle, Man Flu. I thought, oh, finally, somebody gets me. And I dropped the Lemsip on the floor and I grabbed the Man Flu bottles and I scrape them into my basket and I buy a whole bunch of them. I think I bought like 10 or 15 of these things. And they were about £2 a pop. Over here with Lemsip, I had £2 for a whole pack of 10. And here I've got £2 for one dose, but purely because of the marketing and the branding and the positioning. It was a more specific message. It spoke to me as a man. Somebody understands that there's a real thing called man flu. And here it is. And I spend even more money with the more specific message. There's a big lesson here. I didn't even just spend my money as if it was equal. I spent more money on something that I kind of knew was probably a gimmick. There's not any, the ingredients are going to be exactly the same, but something about it drew my attention. All right? And you've got to understand that when we do this and we hone in on a mini market, there's more than enough opportunity to go around. All right? It's not that we zero in on a smaller opportunity or a smaller market and now we're limiting our reach. We're doing the complete opposite. It's a vanity number to go after a wider market thinking, well, there's 2 million people here. Surely I can find a client somewhere. No, because none of those people are listening to you. Whereas if you go to a smaller market of only 100,000 people, by the way, these are not numbers to learn from, okay? I'm making these up. You go to a smaller market of 100,000 people, on paper, it's a smaller opportunity. But if more of those people are paying attention to you, then you've actually got a greater reach from a smaller audience than you would have done with a vanity play. And there's more than enough opportunity in these small markets. There's a guy called Andrew Arga. He's not one of our clients. He's someone that I've heard about. And he had a webinar that he ran for many, many years, teaching people how to grow specifically an accounting business. So wider market, service-based businesses, yeah? Big market, anyone providing any kind of service. And he went a layer deeper and said, you know what, I'm going to focus on accounting businesses. Smaller audience, there's only so many accountants, but he absolutely crushed it. This webinar for a period of about 2 years, as far as I'm aware, was doing about $1 million a month. Okay, let that sink in, about $1 million a month. Alex Hormozy, you probably heard about him before. He sold his company, Gym Launch. He was in the business of helping people with physical gyms to get more clients. Now, fitness businesses, right? Needing more clients for their business service, for their fitness services. Went a layer deeper, mini market, physical gyms. There's only so many people with a physical gym, right? But because he was only speaking to them, he's always going to win those people as clients on top of his competition, okay? Mini markets can be one of these three things. A mini market can be the person, it can be the topic, or it can be the problem. It can also be a combination of these three things. The person might be the type of demographic. How old are they? Where do they live? How are they feeling? What have they got going on in their life right now? Right? It can be around the person. Number two, it can be the topic. What do you teach? Is it a very specific part of a bigger picture? Rather than just focusing on, I don't know, business coaching, maybe you focus on building the right systems into a corporate-sized business so that you can get more production and benefit from the employees and the size of the team you've already got. So rather than just business coaching, now we've got a specific topic for a specific size of business. Number three, it might be the problem. What's the problem that someone's got, and is it a more specific type of problem, and you provide a more specific type of solution? Okay? It might not be that someone needs just an overall health check, but it might be that they know exactly what's going wrong and there's something in their body that's an issue for them, like autoimmune disease, like we were talking about with Carrie Young, one of our wonderful expansion mastermind clients. She helps people with autoimmune disease. So that's a very specific problem, and so she's not just in the space of helping to cure all manner of health issues. That would be a wider market. No, she's going, do you know what? I could help with lots of things, but let me just double down on autoimmune disease, and let me just add some specificity into my message, and because of that, she's done very, very well, regardless of which one of these you choose or a combination of these. The big not so secret is that your potential customers just want to feel understood. That's all they really want. So the way that we're going to stand out is by speaking to our customers or clients or ideal clients in our marketing in such a way that shows them that we understand them. The more we can demonstrate we understand them and where they're at and what they kind of want and what they need, the more drawn to us they're going to feel. And the way that I like to do that is with pains and gains. It's a very simple idea that people are trying to escape pain and get towards gain, right? They've either got pain in their life that's causing them an issue and they want to get away from that pain, or there's something that they really want that would be very desirable. Sometimes those two things overlap, and a very simple exercise is to write down on a piece of paper pains, gains, put a line down the middle, and write out as many things as you possibly can about your ideal audience. Who are they? How do they feel? Think about some of these mini markets and think, yeah, if I had that specific problem, or if I was wanting to learn about that specific topic, or if I was that type of person with that type of issue, how would I be feeling? Write them all down. And this is going to be helpful for you when you bring that message out to the marketplace to provide a solution. And they're going to feel drawn to you. You're going to stand out. We've got to stand out in the marketplace, but we don't necessarily have to have a big audience, impressive branding, or loads of success stories. That's not necessarily how we stand out. We stand out by being relatable. The more relatable we are, the more specific our message, therefore attracting a more specific audience, and the more relatable we become with that prospect, the more likely they are to sign up with us. You know, this is why we can still win clients instead of Tony Robbins. You've got to stop pinning yourself against competition and think that there's no room for you because they've got a bigger business, or they've got a more impressive brand, or they've got a bigger following on social media. That is not what wins clients. Does it help? Yes. Is it the be-all end-all? Absolutely not. In fact, it can be an issue for some people. And you can start to collect the clients that fall off of Tony's plate. You're not just getting the scraps, you're getting the people that want something different that Tony cannot offer. If Tony's at the top of the stair set in the personal development space, such a big business, you can't really get close to him. So you've got potential client at the bottom of the stair set saying, I need some help, and they're looking up. Tony seems so far away. They can't get to him. They can't get that one-to-one help, but you're halfway up the stair set. You don't know as much as Tony, perhaps. Maybe you do, but you just don't have as big of a business, as big of an audience. Your confidence is lacking, but the client can still look up at you and you seem closer to them. You could even just be a couple of steps ahead. A couple of steps ahead, and we can often talk about this like it's a limitation. Oh, but you know, I'm still building my knowledge in this area, and I'm only really like a couple of steps ahead, and I don't know as much as Tony. We talk about that like that's a disadvantage, like it's a handicap. What if we flip it and realize that that means we're actually closer to the prospect? So they still look up at you and see something in you that you have that they want, and you actually feel more relatable and closer to home. Okay? So don't overthink this part. I'm really serious when I say this. When you're doing your homework and you're thinking about this part and you're putting these plans together, you do not need to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks defining a client avatar. It's not that difficult. We are not going to do market research in the sense that we're going to go and dig into all the numbers and how many people follow certain pages on certain topics to indicate if there's a market. And if there is a market, what are they made of? We don't care about that stuff, okay? Yes, go out there and have a look at your competition. Yes, go out there and see what the market's doing. But you'll know, it's common sense, you'll know if there's a market, you'll know if there's people interested in that topic, and you'll know if they're spending money because there'll be other people offering products and services in a similar manner to you. So don't overthink this part. Just go out there and think of some mini markets that you'd feel confident speaking to and also confident to help. Then make sure that you're just specific enough that you can speak to their specific pains and gains. And number 3, don't go so far down this track that the market becomes just way too small. Use common sense, right? We're not going to work with women in business who are exactly 44 years old. They have no more, no less than 3 kids. They've been in business for 3 years and they sell this exact product, okay? That's getting way too specific. But maybe women entrepreneurs in business that are also running a family, maybe that would be a really good mini market because you can speak to those women really specifically, but there's obviously loads of those people. You with me? So that's what we need to be doing. So we're going to end this lesson here. That's the who that we're targeting, and I'll meet you in the next one. All right, welcome back to the next lesson. And in this one, we're going to talk about the end result. This was one of the elements of the offer quadrant. We've talked about price, we've talked about the who. Now we're going to talk about the result. Now this is not going to be a very long training. This is actually going to be quite a short one, okay? So keep in mind that these 4 things aren't necessarily given equal time and attention. Okay, these are 4 very important things to at least think about, and they weigh into the decision of what your offer is going to be and how it's going to be structured. But some of them are perhaps simpler to wrap your head around than others, all right? And so let's talk about this section here in the top left, the result, okay? We've talked about price, what we're going to charge. We've talked about the who do we want to really be getting in front of, and what's our unique message going to be for a certain mini market. Now, what's the result that we ideally want to get for these people? Yeah? Once we know who it is that we're trying to speak to, then we can get a bit clearer on what the result might be. Because the result, if we had thought about it before deciding on the who, we might have made a bad mistake. We might have got ourselves into a bit of a muddle. Because we might be creating a product and taking loads of time to build an offer that's really for the wrong person. So now we know, we can think about the specific result just for them. And deciding what to teach to get someone the result really comes down to these 5 steps. And we're going to break each one down very quickly in this lesson. It's going to give you some food for thought, and you can do a bit of homework at the end. So, step 1, the brain dump. When I was planning for this lesson, I didn't want to overcomplicate this. I didn't want to give you a bunch of training for the sake of training just to make this lesson sound really exciting. And no, I just want to give you what you need. And I want you to have the path of least resistance. And so I was thinking, well, what do I do? When I create a new product, when I create a new offer, when I create a new coaching program or service, whatever the case may be, what do I do? Well, the first thing I do is I brain dump. I get out a pad and a piece and a pen, and I just write down all the things that I would ideally like to teach, or that I think I need to teach. Whether it's going to go in my program or whether it's not, whether it's something I will talk about on coaching calls or not. I still am going to go ahead and write it all down. I'm going to brain dump it onto a document. And off the back of that, okay, I'm then going to work with this mess and decide how much of it to keep and how much of it to scrap. But the first part is easy. There's no structure. It's just chaos on a piece of paper. What are all the possible things I could teach? And what you'll find is you'll go down a bit of a rabbit hole, right? Well, I need to teach this. Okay, well, to teach that, what would I need to teach to be able to teach that? Okay, well, yeah, of course, yeah, for me to teach a webinar, well, they need to know the presentation. So I need to teach presentation. Oh, but for them to know a presentation, they need to know the framework of the whole presentation, start to finish. Okay, so let me write down webinar framework. Oh, but for them to know the webinar framework, they kind of need to know how long the lesson will be. Okay, how long is a webinar presentation? Okay, well, how do I start the presentation? First few slides. Okay, now let's expand on the first few slides. What would I teach them in the first section? Well, how long exactly is the first section? Oh, well, it's probably first 5 minutes. How's it? And so you end up just going down this rabbit hole. Then you come back, what's something else I've got to teach? I've got to teach the funnel. Well, is there more? Yeah, okay, well, there's more elements to the funnel. There's the funnel, there's the emails, there's the page design, there's the tech, putting it all together. So then I go down the rabbit hole and all of those things, and I brain dump everything onto a piece of paper or into a Google document, or however you prefer to take notes. We do the brain dump. Step 2. Once you've done the brain dump, let's bring ourselves back to a 40,000 foot view. And let's say, what does the client ultimately want? What does the client ultimately want? And at the same time, we'll be thinking about the question of, what do I ultimately need to teach to get the client what they want? It's a very important question to ask ourselves, because I mentioned to you in one of the previous videos that by offering more stuff is not necessarily the answer. It's not what people want. What they're paying for is the result. They don't want more stuff. So we've got to be very careful that when we're creating an offer, that we're not making it big for the sake of it being big. We're not putting more stuff in there because we're trying to puff it out and pad it out to make it feel more valuable. It can actually be damaging. It can do the opposite. By having more stuff in there, we can actually make the program seem less desirable because it's just so big and daunting. That can actually stop our client from taking even the first step because it seems like there's so much to go through, right? It can actually stop implementation because your client will feel like they can't even get the wheels turning until they've learned everything they should be doing before they get off the starting blocks. So by having a bigger offer with more in it, we can actually be the problem for our clients. So we have to stop for a second and go, well, there's the brain dump. Now, what does my client ultimately want? And what would I really, if I boiled it down, what would I need to teach to get the client what they want? And what you start to do is you look at your brain dump of information and you start to carve a bit of a path. You go, well, actually, you know what? It would be nice to teach that, but I don't think we really need it. Or in fact, that would be great to teach, and it is good information, and it's great knowledge, but that could probably come later. Let me park that for a minute. Maybe that will come in a later product. Maybe I'll think about a top tier offer later on. Maybe I'll even create a whole new offer for a slightly different avatar, and maybe that stuff will go over there. So let me just park that idea. And you start to just clear the way a little bit, and you start to formulate a bit of a plan of which of these things you've got on your brain dump document that is actually mandatory. You would have to teach that for them to get the result. And what stuff is becoming a bit fluffy? What stuff would be nice to have in there but would just make the program perhaps unnecessarily big? And you'll just start to get a bit clearer. Number 3, then highlight the non-negotiables. So as you're going through your brain dump and you're asking yourself, what does my client ultimately want? What would I need to teach to get the result? Maybe in your document, you actually do go and highlight certain things. Okay, these are non-negotiables. I actually can't get my client the result unless I teach them that. If they don't understand that, then that will not make sense. And if they don't do that, they can't even progress to doing this. So that's a non-negotiable. But everything that I'm not highlighting is not necessarily needed. So you just start to strip the fat. Now, of the stuff that you're becoming left with, moves us on to step 4, which is break up your topic into 3 to 5 core sections. It doesn't actually matter how you're delivering your program. Notice how we haven't spoken about delivery yet. I don't know if you're planning on creating a course curriculum or whether your program is 100% one-to-one coaching. Maybe your program's a hybrid of coaching and training. Maybe you're doing a group coaching program. It makes no difference to me. What you're going to be teaching to give the client the result, whether it's in a course curriculum, whether it's in training videos, whether it's in group coaching calls, or whether it's in one-to-one calls, it makes no difference. We still do need to break up our topic into a manageable process to take our client through. If it's on one-to-one calls, we need to have structure. What are the 3 to 5 core things we're going to be teaching, and we can focus on them over our one-to-one sessions? If I'm doing training videos, what are my core 3 to 5 sections so that I can break up the modules and differentiate them and have them stand out from each other? Otherwise, it just looks like one big block of training and it's overwhelming. So we break up the topic into 3 to 5 core sections. Okay? Think about how I have it here in our elite coaching program. We've got this section here now for those that need it. Offer creation. Yeah, that's one core section. There's lots that will go underneath that. If I'm doing a training videos, then I might have multiple lessons underneath that. But this is one core thing, and we've got to get that sorted. Then the webinar presentation, the value funnel. It's a big piece, so I want to have that as another section. Then I've got a third section, which is the funnel. Got to get that built. And then we have the fourth section, which is launching and starting to make some sales, right? So I've got those 4 sections. Now I might play with that. I might continue to refine it. That's the whole process, the whole point of what I've been saying. Generate some clients and then learn from those clients how to make your program better over time. But that's how we're going to start those 4 sections. So think about that. And then step number 5, put those sections into a sequential order of implementation. What makes the most sense to be first, then second, then third, then fourth, then fifth, or however many sections you've got. You want to, as best you can, teach your knowledge, teach the solution that you have in an order that makes sense to the prospect and the client, right? For me, I spent a bit of time looking at my brain dump, figuring out what I ultimately need and want to teach, highlighting the non-negotiables, stripping the fat, breaking up into 3 to 5 topics, and then I had to decide what's going to be the first thing that I teach. And I decided offer creation. We shouldn't really be looking at building webinars and funnels and taking sales calls. Why would we be talking about that until we've got an offer sorted? So sequentially, that needed to be first. It's the most important thing. We can't progress until we get that sorted. The second thing is the webinar presentation, because as far as I'm concerned, the webinar presentation and what we build in that presentation is a lot of the messaging that can then leak out of the presentation and be put into the funnel. And then we move on to the next section, which is building the funnel. Once you have the presentation, we can record the webinar and put it into the funnel and build a funnel around it. And then, of course, we turn on some traffic, we launch, and then we make some sales. So that makes sense to be the last step. It might not be as easy as that for you to think about what the order might be, but you're the expert, right? It's your coaching program, so just take some time to think in what order would this make the most sense. Extra tip for you: if you can build in some wins along the way, that's a big, big benefit. If somebody's got to go through 5 sections or 5 modules or loads and loads of one-to-ones with you before they even start to see some wins, then it feels like a really tall order. Whereas if we can get some wins all the way along, then that's of great benefit. Because the client feels like, okay, I'm working towards something. Okay, I've just got an exciting win. I feel great about something. Now I'm going to move to the next step. So for you in this module, you're learning about the offers, and then you're going to work with my team, and we're going to help you, and then we're going to get that structured, right? And then at the end of that, you're going to have felt like you've succeeded with something. Okay, I've got clarity on what my offer is. I feel excited by that. I feel great. I'm ready to move forward. Okay? And then you're now more excited to get into the next section because you experienced something of a win in the previous one. So it's an extra top tip there for you. All right. So again, those are the 5 steps, and that is simple by design, because I don't want you to overthink this. I don't want you to overcomplicate this. I don't want you to be thinking now, do I need to have videos and one-to-ones and group this and have? We're going to get to that in the next lesson when we talk about delivery. Right now, all we're doing is saying we know the price we're going to charge. We know who it is we're going to be helping. Now, what is the result that they want, and how can I just start to put a bit of a structure to this? I just want to have a bit of a framework, a bit of a structure. It's only going to be a 5, 6, or a 7 out of 10. I'm still not going to be a 10 out of 10 program until I get some real world data into this thing. But I do just want to get a little bit of structure in. That's all we're doing here. All right? So hopefully that's some food for thought for you. That's the result section. Now in the next lesson, we're going to get into delivery. All right? I'll see you there. All right, everyone, so welcome back to the next lesson, and this is the delivery. We've been talking about the offer quadrant, the 4 things that we need to be thinking about and at least get a little bit closer to clarity on for us to have a good offer that's at least ready to sell. It doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be 10 out of 10. In fact, we're never going to get there. We're going to put something out into the market, we're just going to launch, and we're going to refine as we go. But we've gotten a bit of clarity on price. And so you should be feeling a little bit closer and a bit more confident. We talked about who. So you should be feeling a little bit closer and a bit more confident. Same with the type of result that our client wants, or ideal clients, and how we might help them get that. So the final piece to the puzzle here is delivery. How are we going to be delivering our offer to them in such a way that we can launch quickly now, that we don't have to build a whole bunch of stuff, but we can still have something that's valuable to start selling to the marketplace? Well, the first thing I need to tell you, and I've already said it at multiple occasions over the course of this training, but we don't need to have a big offer. You've got to remember this, okay? We do not need it. The last thing we want to do is spend months and months and months building something that takes a heck of a long time to put together, only to find that it's far bigger than most of our clients would have ever wanted anyway. Okay? They don't want stuff, they want the result, and we must focus on that. So I'm going to suggest that you start with something that I teach called the pop-up offer. Some of you may have heard me talk about this before in the past, some of you maybe not. Either way, this is a framework that you can use to launch very, very quickly, but it's going to take something from you. It's going to take you putting that PDPM to the side and saying perfectionism, doubt, procrastination, and waiting around for these surges of motivation. I'm just going to get out of that cycle. I'm going to ditch the perfectionism, and I'm just going to launch something. Unless you make that decision, the pop-up offer won't work for you. Because the pop-up offer, by nature, is something, I mean, not incomplete, but it's certainly not going to be the final version. But as the name suggests, it's the pop-up offer. We can pop it up, we can get it going, and then we can refine and build as we go. So what is a pop-up offer? Well, to understand what a pop-up offer is, we first need to understand what the end result is. So let's imagine that today, right now, you have nothing. You don't really have an offer. You've not created any of the deliverables as it stands right now. You're wondering if you should be having a video course curriculum, you should be having some modules with some lessons, you should have a membership area, you should have one-to-one calls, group calls, Zoom setup, all this kind of stuff. But right now you've got nothing. It's all just an idea and it's just hypothetical. So today you've got nothing. Let's imagine in 6 months, the goal where we want to be is to have this thing called a hands-free high-ticket offer. Now a hands-free high-ticket offer is, as the name suggests, a high-ticket offer that is pretty much hands-free. It's a dream scenario. We've got an amazing high-ticket offer that provides massive value to our clients. They're getting the result, but it's very low maintenance as far as we're concerned. It doesn't take a huge amount of our time to deliver. That would be the end result. That would be absolutely amazing, right? That's what we'd like to get to. Well, there are different stages that we need to go through between where we are right now to get to that. The first stage, in red, is taking imperfect action. And as that name suggests, we have to be okay with not being perfect. We're going to take imperfect action. But off the back of that imperfect action, we can start to build some structure. We can learn from what we've launched, and we can start to build some new systems and build some structure off the back of that. And then we can move to making some of those changes that's going to help to leverage our time, improve the product, make it better for our clients. And finally, we move into a whole new realm where we've got serious momentum, we've got loads of clients coming in, everything's going really well, and we're going to start to even automate the delivery in many areas so that we can get to a point where we've got this wonderful, hands-free, high-ticket offer. And as we've talked about in some of the lessons previous to this one, in this module, many of us are waiting until we get here. We're saying, John, I just can't take imperfect action. And so I want to wait until I get to a point where I can leverage my time. Where I have a really good product that's already got all the systems in place that leverages me and my time in lots of areas. And I'm recording loads of training videos so that I don't have to keep reteaching that. And so I'm getting all of this stuff ready. And John, I'm going to wait till I'm in the yellow. Well, the trouble is you may never get to the point where you launch because you're trying to start here. Or the same is true for green. You're waiting until your offer is near 10 out of 10, or at least you feel that it's 10 out of 10. So you keep working on it, keep refining it, keep changing it. You're not selling it. You just keep working at it to try and get it into the green and get this amazing, outstanding product that you think the market's going to absolutely love. And the reality is, if you look at the 6 months there, it might not even take 6 months. It might take you 24 months to build that darn thing. You might never even launch, right? It's the thing I told you in the very first lesson here in this module. You've got a decision to make. Your offer is going to look different in 12 months' time. It's going to look different. Either you're going to be refining it, but not selling it, You're just refining it based on what you think needs to change. Or you're going to start selling it, and in 12 months, your offer will still look different, but it'll look way better. You'll have a better, product fit for the market, and you will have made boatloads of money in the process. So I hope that you choose that option and don't do what I'm illustrating on the screen right now. Because as I've mentioned, they don't need or want more stuff. They don't need or want more bonuses. They don't need or want more of your time even, right? It's very arrogant of us to think that the thing that they're paying for is our time, all right? It's not our time that they're paying for. There's nothing special about you as a human being that means that your time is the thing that someone wants. It's the knowledge that's in your head. That's the thing they want. It's not just spending time with you. So adding in another one-to-one session or another 5 sessions means nothing to them. They want the result. You've learned something great. They want to learn it from you. They want the result. So what is a pop-up offer? A pop-up offer is us saying, right, screw it. I'm just launching. I'm launching something. I'm going to start from right back here. I'm going to take imperfect action. I know the offer's not incredible right now. It's not the finished product. It's not what I want it to be. But I'm going to get it out into the marketplace at least so that I can get the wheels turning. And then I can refine as we go. All right? So we've got this ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal right over here in the green is a hands-free high-ticket offer. And I want to tell you what's included in the ultimate hands-free high-ticket offer. And then we'll work our way towards that. Your ideal ultimate goal might not be exactly this. Of course, as you know, I'm presenting this training one-to-many, so this isn't going to hit the nail on the head for all of you, but just understand this is where we should be looking to get to, and then you can, of course, make it your own. But a hands-free high-ticket offer for me, ultimate goal, is an offer that has a training vault full of amazing training so that I don't have to deliver it every time live. I don't have to deliver it every time one-to-one. I don't even have to deliver it every time in group sessions. I can just have an amazing training vault full of videos that a new client comes through, and that's the start of their education with me. Number 2, loads of great resources that will help the client to implement that training. Maybe it's checklists, maybe it's infographics, maybe it's homework reports and different things that they might need, different resources that will help them to implement. Number 3, group coaching calls. If we could get coaching calls to such a way where we don't even need to have one-to-one calls because there's such amazing benefit from group coaching calls and clients are loving it and everyone's winning and we've created this phenomenal community on the group calls, then that would be the ultimate goal. Number 4, leads on from that, community. We've got an amazing community of clients that help each other and support each other and answer each other's questions in some cases, as long as they're correct. Having that community would be great. And number 5, growing the business to a point where I have a dedicated client success team. So it's not just me anymore, it's not just you anymore. We've got an amazing team of people that can help and work with our clients to implement this stuff. That means that we as the business owner can remove ourselves a little bit and have other people replace us in areas where we're not necessarily needed, and we can focus our time on areas that are more our time is better needed, yeah? But that's the ultimate goal. What we're doing is we're at the starting point, a pop-up high-ticket offer. To illustrate this, I need to give you an example, okay? I need to share with you an example about a guy called Alex. Alex Navas is his name. You can actually look him up, great guy. And, I'm a big believer in investing in coaching. I love it, and I can see that you are as well, hence you obviously being here inside of my program. And so anytime I want to learn something new, I don't want to go through the learning curve myself. I don't want to have to try to figure it out. And I don't want to just go through tons and tons of training to try to get the answer. I just really want to go to someone who's got the answer and can teach it to me. So there's this guy called Alex Navas. Actually, let's do black here. Guy called Alex Navas, and he had a skill set in building systems and SOPs and structures into a growing coaching business like mine. And so I wanted those systems and I wanted those SOPs. And so I inquired about Alex's coaching and we jumped on a one-to-one call and I found out what his offer was. And his offer didn't have a name, by the way. There was no name. He didn't say, well, here's what I've got, John. I've got this offer called, Superpowers for Entrepreneurs or whatever a stupid name you could have come up with. He didn't have it. There was no name. He just said, well, look, my offer is to work with me for 3 months. And it's $25,000 to work with me for the 3 months. And here's what we do in those 3 months. Quite simple. The first thing we do is we have a weekly one-to-one call, and I will be finding out where you're at. I'll be tailoring this process to you and what you've got going on. And then I'll give you some homework after every call. And you go away and you do that piece, and then you come back to me next week and we review, and then we talk about next steps and we go from there. So the first thing that I received was a weekly call, okay? First thing I received. Now, here's the interesting thing. Me as a client, I didn't even need this call every week. Alex offered it to me. It was part of what I paid for, but I actually didn't even need it. So I didn't even request it every week. That was the interesting thing. So Alex actually made a greater return on his time every time I didn't, greater return on his time every time I didn't show up for one. Second thing was access to him on an application called Telegram. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of Telegram. The platform is really not that important, but it's a way for us to just communicate. We could text message each other. I could drop him a voice message, whatever the case may be, right? Had access to him. And the offer was, look, in between our weekly calls, if you have questions, you need some clarity, you need to be reminded of something we spoke about, you have a hiccup, something comes up and you need to just, throw some ideas around with me, that's fine. I'll connect with you on Telegram, and for the whole 3 months, you can be asking me any questions that you might have, and I can give you that clarity. And the third thing, resources as needed. And I'm sorry about my terrible handwriting. Resources as needed. He said, John, I've got so much stuff that may or may not be helpful for you, and I don't want to overwhelm you by just giving you a bunch of paperwork for the sake of it. So essentially, as we go through these weekly calls together, I'm going to give you the stuff that I think you need for where you're at right now. Then you're going to have access to me for any questions as we go. And then as questions come up from you that warrant a particular resource, if I've got it, I'll give it to you. If I don't have it, I'm happy to take a bit of time and I'll create something for you. That's what we'll do. 3 months together, $25,000, okay? Now I jumped at that. I invested $25,000, with the guy, and we had a great, process over those 3 months. And if we look at Alex's work involved to deliver this, okay, it's a weekly call if I wanted it, and it's answering a couple of questions, every day, just checking his phone for 5 minutes, and he's probably got a backlog of resources and kind of just pulls them out as and when he needs them. In fact, I only think I had about 3 from him in that time. Now let's look at his preparation. What was the preparation needed for him to sell this thing? Basically nothing. This is a pop-up offer. This was where I first got this idea from. When I invested in this coaching from Alex, and then I started to come up against this roadblock with my clients where they just felt like they needed to have all this stuff built before they had an offer that was worthy of charging high ticket, I suddenly had this light bulb moment myself, and I thought, well, that's not what Alex did for me. And one thing led to another, and then I started teaching this to our clients. You can just create a pop-up offer. And to do a pop-up offer is all centered around you essentially selling your time in the beginning. Not moving forward, not forever, but in the beginning, selling your time. Okay? And then we can use the clients that we start generating to refine the process more and more and more, and then streamline it to move it into the orange, move it into the yellow, and move it into the green. So if you're hearing this and you're saying, John, that doesn't really sound too appealing to me because I don't want to be doing one-to-one coaching forever. I hear you. That's not the game plan. The game plan is that you have two options. You can either continue wasting months, if not years, trying to build a product that has training and resources and a beautiful membership area and all this nonsense, right? You can spend months and years creating all of this, making no money, nobody knows who you are, and you're having zero impact on your industry. Or we can say, let me just sell my time to start. And by doing so, I can launch now. I can literally sign up a client tomorrow because the knowledge is in my head. I can sell someone into a coaching process with me for 6 or 3 months or whatever it might be. And then I can learn from these conversations and these clients, and I can start to build on that. And then I can slowly but surely move away from the one-to-one. So all you're doing is doing this in the beginning to start making some money, start having an impact on your audience, start getting yourself out there. And it's actually it's further benefit to you than just launching quickly, because now you're actually speaking to people. When you sign up a client, you're actually talking to every single client, so you're getting that real world feedback. Feedback you never would have gotten if you're just trying to create a program out of thin air based on what you think the audience might want. I think you get the idea. So what would we need to have this ready to sell? Well, we'd need to have perhaps a Zoom account set up, ready to deliver some one-to-one sessions. We'd have to download Telegram or some other relevant app where we can deliver the access to us. And maybe we set up a Google Drive or a WeTransfer account where we can be depositing resources as we go and as needed, okay? Things that do not matter. A name for your program, don't need it. Who cares? If you're on the phone with a prospect and they're asking how they can work with you, I guarantee you they're not going to make a buying decision one way or another based on the fact of your program having a name or not. Or furthermore, whether they like the name or not, okay? Alex didn't have a name. It was just coaching with him. And I just wanted to know what was in his head. And I was happy to have 3 months with him where it felt tailored and I got to speak to him every week. It felt really great. No name, no logo. You don't even need a membership area to get this thing started. So here's what we do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the 4 different colors, the 4 different sections, and I'm going to share with you how it evolves and how it changes over time. So the first thing that your pop-up offer needs is you need to give it a time frame. Maybe you've heard of Parkinson's law before. Parkinson's law dictates that the longer a time period you give someone to perform a task, the task will expand to meet the allocated time given to perform it. Meaning that if something should have really only taken 2 days to complete, but you give someone 5 days to complete that task, it's going to take them 5 days. Give someone 10 days to complete the same task, they're probably going to stretch that task out and complete it in 10 days. Same is true here for our coaching. We need to not make our programs too long that we give our clients a crutch. They don't need that much time, but they've got it, so they kind of sit around on their butt and they don't even implement. So we want to give our program a time limit so that they know that that they've got to dive in, they've got to implement, they've got to move fast. Maybe for you it's 8 to 12 weeks. I do find that 2 to 3 months, if you're going to do something like this, if you're going to do coaching, then I do find that 2 to 3 months, 8 to 12 weeks does seem to work quite well. Maybe for you, you want it to be a 6-month-long thing. You could even do it 12 months. The only thing I'm saying is just keep that in mind. Does it need to be 12 months? If it doesn't, make it shorter, because people aren't paying for more stuff. So they're not paying, they're not going to see more value in it because it's longer. You with me? They're not going to say, oh, it's 12 months access. Okay, yes, I'll invest 5,000. Oh, it's only 6 months? I'm not sure. As long as they're caught up in the desire to work with you and they can see that the result is tangible for them, then for some people, a shorter time frame is actually more desirable. So we're going to give it a time frame, whatever seems to work for you. And then we could just model exactly what Alex did. Weekly one-to-one call, access to you for questions, and create resources as you go. Right, now we move into orange. Next step, let's start to create some structure. Let's learn from how this pop-up offer is going. We build the marketing. We've got a webinar, we've got a funnel, we've got ads on, we've got phone calls coming in, and we've closed a few clients now. Fantastic. We're taking these weekly calls. I've highlighted in orange the things that we need to be aware of as we are moving along this scale. We need to be aware of number 2, weekly one-to-one calls. As we're speaking to these people, what conversations are coming up? What's happening? When you jump on your first one-to-one session with a client, what's typically the first few questions that they have? What's typically the start of the conversation? And you can start to write this stuff down, take notes, because this is going to help you in the long run. Because when we start to add training videos into your offer, we start to add other resources, we can be learning from what our real clients have been needing, and that can be determining what videos we create, not just what we think they might need. So we're going to be very attentive to the weekly one-to-one calls, what people are saying, what they're needing, what we're typically teaching, how is it landing with the client, are they hitting sticking points, what can we learn from that, how fast are they progressing, what could we teach and do differently next time to move a client through faster, and what resources are we creating as we go along that are of benefit. Now we move to yellow, and guess what? Everything changes. Watch this. Well, everything but the 8 to 12 weeks, but let's just assume the length of the time in your program stays the same. But everything changes at this point. We've got our 8 to 12 week program, but here's what we can start to do now. We've got enough clients. We're learning enough from how those calls are going. We're going to now have a weekly group call. You could still have some one-to-one calls included if you wanted, but you could start to weave in a weekly group call. You now have maybe 5 to 10 clients. You can sell it as an added bonus that they get to connect with other people. They get to ask questions together, learn from other questions being asked from other clients in the program. And for anybody new coming in now, you still need to be delivering the one-to-one weekly calls for your original clients for the amount of time that you promised. But for anyone new coming in now, your offer doesn't look the same. Your offer's changed. And now they get a one-to-one call with you every 2 weeks, right? You've halved your delivery needed on one-to-one calls, and interwoven into there is a weekly group call. So they get to talk to you every week, but one of them is one-to-one, and then the next week it's a group call. And then it's a one-to-one, and then it's a group call. Now, you've got to protect yourself from the feeling that if you do that, you've devalued the program, therefore you need to reduce your price. Or even if you stand strong and you say, no, John said it doesn't matter about the delivery, as long as they're getting the result, the price remains the same, so I'm going to stand strong, but I still think that it's going to convert lower because people aren't going to see as much value in it. That is wrong as well. They're paying for the result. And if you can maintain your clients winning and getting results with a bi-weekly one-to-one and a group call in between that, fantastic. Nothing needs to change on the price. Nothing needs to change on the conversion rates that you should be expecting from people signing up to join it. Next thing, access to community for questions. Before, it was access to you directly. You can start to phase that out now. And for anybody new, perhaps you have a group Telegram chat. You have a group WhatsApp chat. Maybe you have a Facebook group. And now when they have a question, they post it in there. They still get direct access to you, but who knows? One of your other clients in the previous week might have asked you the same question and you gave them the answer. And they thought, hey, I want to be a presence here in the community. I'm going to respond to my fellow student and I'm going to provide the answer. Saved you some time. Building community. It's a really good thing. And now number 4, we're taking all that we've learnt from these one-to-one calls, and we're going to start to build an archive of awesome resources that our clients have been needing, and we can be starting to build a membership area perhaps where we can put all of these great resources. And number 5 is we can start creating our course content. Okay? We can start to teach the things that come up repeatedly. Think about this. Imagine if you've had 10 clients now, and every single one-to-one call you have with these 10 clients, the first one, you always talk about the same stuff. You always introduce the program in the same way. You always ask them the same introductory questions. You always teach them the first core foundational thing that they need. And so you are not leveraging your time very well, because you are having repeated one-to-one calls where you're basically saying the same thing. You're a parrot. So what we can do is we can say, right, I've got this list of 10 things that I always say and teach on a one-to-one call. I'm going to record that into a training video. And now I'm going to make this a requirement that when a new client joins, before they jump on the group calls or before they book a one-to-one with me, they've got to watch this first module. And you have just leveraged your time in the best way possible. People watch videos, pre-recorded videos first. They get that foundational knowledge. You've saved all that time, and now you just teach them on top of that. And then that just continues to compound. What other topics do they need to learn? What other things do you keep repeatedly teaching? And before you know it, you're starting to build out a really great course curriculum that your clients go through as the core of their training. And then it's just questions on top of the training. The program, if you're tracking with me right now, your program is starting to leverage training videos and group elements far more than it is one-to-one now. We've very quickly moved from the red and we're moving into the yellow, and now we're into the green and everything changes again. We've still got our 8 to 12 week program, but we've got a weekly group call that perhaps now somebody else runs. Maybe we're hiring coaches. Maybe we're finding, and this is a great top tip, we're finding ex-students, people that became a client, went through the process, loved your program, and now they are an advocate for it. And they say, hey, I'd love to join your team. And you can pay them a little bit on the side to have them come and host some of those weekly group calls and provide some of the answers to the questions. Now, by the way, this is optional. For some of you, I get it. You don't actually want to be removed from that. That's absolutely fine. You can stay involved in whatever area you want to. But as we move into the green, we can now have the ability to say, what stuff don't I want to do? And what can I outsource and have someone else help me to do? Because I've got the capital now to be able to do it. Then I can just focus on the stuff that I love doing. Okay? Maybe you just love the sales calls. So you're just going to focus on the sales calls and bring people into the program. Maybe you love the coaching. So you're going to stay doing some of the weekly calls. You're going to stay doing some of the one-to-ones, and someone else will do your sales calls. However you want to chop it up is absolutely fine. But the goal here is that we end up with a program that you friggin' love, that lights you up, that gives the client what they need. They get the result. You're loving it. It's scaling. And we've evolved from the red and we've gone all the way to the green. So then we've got a thriving community that supports each other. We've got a training vault full of incredible training that they go through as the core of their training. We've got the accompanying resources, and you can be hiring coaches and a client success team to take care of your clients and handle the administrative tasks to make sure that no client gets forgotten. And of course, that's where I am right now, and I have an incredible program that we're so proud of. But as you can see, you're watching training videos right now in the equivalent of our training vault. We've got loads of weekly group calls that my team run because they are experts in those particular areas far more than I am. We've got an abundance of resources, more than you could ever need, that will shortcut your path to success. We've got an amazing community of clients that love to support each other, and I've got a great team of coaches and client success agents that are here to support you. So this is the end game for many of us, but we start with a pop-up offer. And I'd like to pose a question to you. What's the worst that happens? Like, really think about this. You're feeling a bit nervous about launching something that's based around just one-to-one coaching, and how are those calls going to go, and am I going to be able to conduct a one-to-one properly? I don't feel like I've got the structure, and I don't have any resources. Should I create some? Look, what's the worst that happens? You sign up a client, they have a terrible experience, they don't enjoy working with you. The worst that happens is you refund them. That's the worst that happens. And I guarantee you, if you refund someone because you were still learning and they didn't have a good experience, and they say, look, John, I'm not enjoying this process, I'd like my money back. If you respond with compassion and kindness and you say, hey, Lewis, I just want to say thank you so much for trying me out. I'm so sorry that it hasn't gone to plan. I'm 100% going to send your money back. I thank you so much for trying. It means the world to me. And I hope to see you around the internet sometime down the road. Guaranteed, you're going to have a positive response from everybody. No one's going to go and give you a negative review. No one's going to start making social media posts about you and talk about you negatively. They will if you fight back and you know, like two dogs biting at each other. Someone wants a refund, you're refusing and you're arguing. The worst that happens in the very beginning is that someone doesn't enjoy the experience, you refund them, you go your separate ways. But you're only refunding money that you otherwise never would have had anyway. So there's only upside to this. Because if you take this plunge, there's a very good chance that some of these clients actually do like the experience. And you will be learning so much about how to improve your program. And for clients that are not quite having the experience that they wanted, you have the ability to go above and beyond and keep serving them at a higher level and just give them as much as you can. And your first few clients, while your program is still being refined, you just give them more of yourself to really double down on getting them the result. Your clients will love it. You'll be making money and you'll be refining an amazing program. And ultimately, you must test your idea anyway. And you've got to test your marketing. You can't spend loads of time building something that you don't know people want to buy and that you'll likely never launch anyway because it's taking too much time. You've got to just test. And we test by putting ourselves out there with some marketing, see if we even get some phone calls. If we don't get any phone calls, no one's even buying our product anyway, and there's a problem with the marketing. So we can just focus on the marketing, get some people in, speak to some prospects, and when we start to close them now, we can lock into those clients and give them a great result. And we know we've got marketing that is working. Now, if you're feeling a bit nervous, if you're feeling like, John, I'm on board with this, I want to just launch, but it makes me so nervous having literally nothing and just selling myself. That makes me feel really uncomfortable, really nervous. I just want to do a little bit of prep. Okay, I give you permission to do just a little bit of prep, but it really should not take you longer than a week. So when we say a bit of prep, like I really mean a little bit of prep. Maybe prepare a handful of videos ahead of time so that when they become a client, you can say in the interim, look, first thing I want you to do, watch these first few introductory videos, then we'll jump on for a one-to-one or a first one-to-one. Prepare a couple of resources. Maybe get some things ready so you just feel a bit more prepared, that you've got some SOPs, you've got a checklist, you've got some stuff to give your clients. Maybe prepare a plan for the first few one-to-ones. Okay, I've got my 3 to 5 sections that John mentioned. I've worked what my result would be that I want to help a client get. I've figured out what I would need to teach, 3 to 5 sections. Okay, first one-to-one, I'm going to focus on this. And then second one-to-one, I think I'll focus on this. And then third one-to-one, I think I'll focus on this. I can almost guarantee you that plan will change, right? You'll have your first client call and they'll get stuck. They'll have more questions, and then the topic for call number 1 stretches into call number 2, and everything gets pushed off kilter anyway. But if it makes you feel better, at least create a plan of where it could go so you feel, okay, I know what I'm going to deliver. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do it, but I'm going to ebb and flow with what the client needs. But do not spend more than a week preparing this. I'm serious. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to the good stuff, all right? So wherever you're at, wherever you're at, if you're watching this video right now and you're saying, John, I have absolutely nothing, launch a pop-up offer. John, I've already been doing something similar and I've got a bit of structure, launch quickly. Launch with whatever you've got. John, I'm already kind of into the yellow now. I've been putting some training videos together and I wanted to implement a group coaching call as well as one-to-one. Great. Whatever you've got, launch now. John, I'm in the green and I still feel like I've got a few more tweaks to make and then it would be great and I'm close to a 10 out of 10. Doesn't matter. Launch your 9 out of 10 and let the real world data get you to the 10. All right. Wherever you're at, whatever you've currently got as your delivery, launch now and perfect it as you go. All right. A couple of encouraging stories to hopefully move you in this direction. Peter Hurd, one of our wonderful clients, I taught him the pop-up offer structure. He said, I'm ready to implement the pop-up offer. This was in our Slack thread. What would you recommend? And we were giving him some pointers and working with him. And then we got an update a few days later. All right, I'm 2 for 2 on coaching students closed. And he said, I even messed up the pitch. I messed up the offer, but I still got 2 people at $6,500 for his pop-up offer of 12 coaching sessions. That was it. There was nothing else in the offer other than they just get 12 sessions with him over the course of 12 weeks, and he sold 2 at $6,500. He was ecstatic. Phil Harris had a $2,000 offer, decided that he wanted to sell something new, a pop-up offer, something more expensive, a top tier, but he wanted to do something that he hadn't done before, $6,000, and he said, oh my gosh, just created the $6,000 product and I sold my first one on my first call. I'm utterly blown away. Thought you guys would be impressed. He was letting us know. We greatly appreciated it. Again, pop-up offer, just launching, just getting out there. You'll be surprised how many people would just say yes to you and give you some money. And you can provide a great service and get your business moving in the right direction and refine it as you go. So ask yourself, where do you want to be in the next 6 months? What is it going to take from you to get there? Who do you need to become? What habits do you need to break? What will stop you from doing this and what might get in your way? Perhaps pause the video right now, ask yourself those 5 questions, make some notes. Because at the end of these videos in this module, you're likely fired up and excited and I'm ready to just launch. And then something on this list gets in your way and holds you back. So think about these 5 things, make notes of what things could be getting in your way and who you need to become and what it's going to take from you. Then you can hold yourself accountable. Feel free to even share this with my team and we'll hold you accountable. All right, so that's the end of this lesson about the delivery and I'll see you in the next one. All right, everyone, so we have made it to this last lesson of this module, all about creating your offer and at least getting it to a point where we can start to sell it. All right, so this is your homework, your next steps, and a bit of a summary as to what we've covered so far. I want to point out some of the most important points that we've spoken about so far. Firstly, it's the marketing that makes the sale, not the offer. So yes, we want to put a bit of time into the offer right now, but no one's ever even going to see the darn thing unless we get the marketing turned on ASAP and start to make some sales so that we can then refine the product as we go. It's so important you understand. An offer's not going to sell itself, and it's certainly not a good use of your time just building and building and building and building and building an offer and neglecting the marketing. We've got to get the marketing turned on. All right? So we want to do that as soon as possible, but we do need to spend just a little bit of time making sure that our offer is ready to put out into the marketplace, just enough. And then we can get the marketing on and then we can refine as we go. And we talked about the offer quadrant. 4 things that your offer needs to have at least you thought about before you launch. We've talked about price, how much are you going to charge? Make sure it's high ticket, make sure you're positioned at a premium price, and we talked about why that actually will provide you a better quality of client. Okay. Number 2, the who. Who is it that you want? Who is it that is your client avatar, and how can we get specific with who we're speaking to make sure that that we're going to be able to stand out in the marketplace and not blend in. Then we talked about the result. What's the result that that audience would want? What do they need to get that outcome? And how can we at least just put a little bit of structure to how we might teach the different elements they would need to get that result? And then we spoke about the delivery. how do we deliver it? And essentially, the crux of the matter was launch with what you've got. But if you're starting from scratch, create a pop-up offer. Start by selling your time via one-to-one coaching, and you'll be able to learn a great deal from that as you move this thing forward and refine the offer as you start to get some clients. You might be stuck in the PDPM cycle, perfectionism and then doubt and then procrastination, waiting for that motivation to go again, and you're just stuck in this cycle. Now that you're aware of it, keep it in your conscious mind. Don't let it slip back to your unconscious, because you'll just keep doing this. It's in your conscious mind now. Break it. Pay attention to this. Every time you spot these 4 things, you've got to break this cycle so that we can get from the blue into the red and into the green and see the massive compounding effect of the time and energy and attention that we're putting into this business and moving it forward. We talked about the fact that you don't need to have every box ticked for your offer before you launch. You just need to have a bit of an idea of your price, your who, your result, and your delivery, and let's launch. Let's get it out there. Your offer is going to look different in 12 months, regardless of which path you choose. And you've got 2, and one is far more profitable than the other. The first option is that you don't launch and you just tinker with your offer and keep changing it and adding to it and redoing it. And in 12 months, of course, it's going to look different, but it's not going to be a good fit for your market because you don't even know if they want it and you've not made any money. Second path is let's launch now. Maybe it's just a pop-up offer, maybe it's just one-to-one coaching, and in 12 months' time, it'll look very, very different. It'll look so much better, but you will have made some great money along the way. So the theme, just launch. And I hope that I have stamped that on your forehead. I hope that I've ignited a fire under you and we get this done. And of course, know my team are here to help, all right? So reach out to us, ask us questions, let us know where you're stuck. Don't be a stranger and don't spend too much time on this. I believe there are some resources attached to this module where you can do some homework and you can submit some of the things that you're working on off the back of this module. My team will review that so that we can give you the green tick and say you're ready to go, move on to the next session, or next section rather. But let's not spend too long on this. Don't spend half your time in our coaching program just tinkering with your offer. Not a good use of your time. Let's get this done quickly and let's move on to the marketing and start to sell this puppy. All right, great to have you in the program. Thanks for getting it to the end of this module, and we'll speak to you very soon.